This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome in. Tom Stevens here, Mike Melby there. Husker Rewind show. Also today will be the Husker Hoops show after the game.
Hoops post game.
That's right. But Nebraska now leading at halftime. And impressive fashion once again. The Huskers playing some great basketball. Obviously right now, 31-24 over Maryland. Maryland's a good basketball team.
Yeah.
Just destroyed Purdue the other night at time. Are they still ranked number one? Now they've been knocked out.
No, they've lost a couple of them.
They've lost like 3 of their last 4, but still a great win. They dominated at home, but now they have to go on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska is just red hot right now. I mean, there's just they're clicking.
And the thing is, it's not they're red hot because, you know, when we got hot in 2014 and went on the run and made the NCAA tournament in Miles' second year, that was this is kind of smoke and mirrors, but we'll take it. This is not a smoke and mirrors thing right now. This is hard work. And man, Nebraska's basketball team right now works so hard without the ball. And that's why they're having the success. Nebraska baseball, by the way, they are playing currently right now out in San Diego against the Toreros. They dropped the first 2 of the 4-game series out there Friday and Saturday. Right now, they are in the top of the 6th, 2 outs. Nebraska leads 9-7. At one point, they had a 6-2 lead, actually an 8-2 lead, and then a 5 spot in the bottom of the 5th by San Diego. I was excited about Nebraska baseball coming in, but right now I'm seeing a lot of what I saw last year.
I think this is going to be a better hitting team. I think it's going to be a better pitching team, but the bullpen I think will be a big part of this. Can they close out games? Because they don't have a Spencer Swellenbach. Kyle Shanneman, I think, is trying to be that, or Shanneman is trying to be that guy. And we'll see if that works out. Might as well get to the starting gate and go through all this stuff, right?
Let's do it.
Mike tries to go through all the topics in Husker sports and nationally that happened this week. It was kind of a slow sports week, but a lot of Husker things to talk about, right?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start off with Tiger Woods is back.
Yeah.
And for those that
I thought he obviously, I think the biggest challenge, what I learned this weekend, he can still hit the ball and he can hit it past Rory. And that's saying something. But to me, the key for Tiger is, can he walk 4 days? And because he was hobbling the last couple of days.
Well, and Riviera is not no.
And there's a lot of courses like Augusta, maybe the hilliest course in the world. It sounds like he's going to play in the majors this year, basically listening to him today.
Yeah.
But he doesn't expect to play much at all. I mean, if you're looking for Tiger to tee it up every week, it's not going to happen.
No. Yeah. I mean, he's lucky to still have his right leg. So, but at the Genesis Invitational, it's Tiger's tournament. He did make the cut, which I was a little surprised.
Yeah.
It'd been a while. He ultimately goes 2 over today after a 67 yesterday, finishes the tournament at 1 under. Just the fact that he finished 72 holes walking on that course. Tip the cap. I've always been a huge Tiger Woods guy. John Rahm actually leads that tournament. They're playing 18 right now. Max Homa is 2 shots behind Rahm. Now, into the rewind of
By the way,
Husker week.
Rahm, if he wins, I guess it would be the best start in the history of the PGA Tour. He's already won twice.
Yeah.
This would be his 3rd win very early in the season. I think I'm right on that one. About to start the second half of Nebraska.
Speaking of Nebraska men's basketball, they sit at 13-14, 6-10 in the conference. They've won 3 of 4 heading into this afternoon's game against Maryland, just underway in the second half. Huskers up 31-24. They knocked off Rutgers in Piscataway on Tuesday night, 82-72, behind another standout performance from Keisei Tominaga. The junior led the Huskers with 22 points, 8 of 15 shooting, 4 of 9 from deep. In his last 4 games, he's averaging 24.5 points a game, 37 of 63 for 58.7% overall. If you include the game before that, from 3, he's 21 of 42, and he's then in those 5 games, 17 of 24 from inside the arc, which is 70.8%. Huskers, as I mentioned, up 31-24. Now 31-26, and it looks like
Maryland about to convert a 3-point play, and they did.
A little and one there. So Husker hoops rolling. They are into the bottom of the 6th. Nebraska baseball still up 9-7 at San Diego. The Nebraska women's basketball team quickly ending any chance that they have to make the postseason. You talk about a team in Nebraska basketball on the men's side that looks like it is absolutely rolling. It looks like the wheels have come off the Amy Williams and the women's team. They've lost their fourth in a row yesterday, 80-60 set back to Caitlin Clark at number 7 Iowa. And the game wasn't even as close as the 80-60 score.
Too bad in front of that crowd, too. That was a great crowd.
They break the single game attendance record, 14,289. And major props to Husker Nation and also to every other sport. Like every other sport had Twitter and all of their social media where they're asking fans, imploring fans, man, come support this team. And props to Husker Nation and all the other Husker athletes for trying to get behind them. But Caitlin Clark, 35-8 yesterday, and they just smoked Nebraska. Losers of now 4 in a row. The toughest of all of those was earlier in the week when they dropped a 95-92 decision to the worst team in the Big Ten, Minnesota, despite getting 37 points from Jazz Shelley. Nebraska sits at 14-13 overall, 6-10 in the conference, just 2 games left in the regular season.
Let me ask you this question. Nebraska women, 14-13. The Nebraska men, 13-14.
Both 6-10 in the conference.
Which is more likely to make the postseason at this point?
Well, that's a pretty easy answer. So,
because they're playing like they're going to win today, and they may not. I mean, Maryland's obviously a very good basketball team, but the men are playing way better than the women right now. If I would have told you that early in the season, you would have said you're a nut job. You're an absolute nut job.
I am an absolute nut job, and Keisei Tominaga is so fun to watch play basketball. A little reverse layup to get the first Husker
He's
points
fun to watch. Is he the most fun player to watch in the Big Ten?
Yeah,
I mean, just as far as fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. I think he would be. Baseball team started out the season this weekend, dropping the first 2 games, 7-3 and 5-3 to San Diego. In those games, the hitting was, quoting Will Bolt, atrocious, or at least their approach to the at-bats last night was atrocious. It was just horrible, though. They're hitting .232 with 21 strikeouts. They were 3 of 19 with runners in scoring position after the first 2 games of this series. And then much like last year, when it came to crunch time and somebody needs to make a play to win, instead of not making a play to lose, they make a play to lose.
I'm not giving up on this. I mean, it's obviously 2 games in. And San Diego, by the way, if not picked to win their conference, I think Gonzaga is, and they're picked second. This is a team that beat Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament last year, and they think they might have a better team this year. So that was a team that went 37-20. They're a good good baseball team. Nebraska gave that away. I've got basketball obviously on the mind right now, but Nebraska has given away, in my mind, the first 2 games of this series. A lot of runners left on base. Dylan Carey's going to be a really good baseball player.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they could win 1 of 3, I wouldn't be happy with that, but I wouldn't have been surprised going into this weekend. If they can split, if you can split this series, that's almost like winning the series against a team like San Diego. I mean, I think this is a really good baseball team.
Hard pressed to do it. They are up 9-7 into the bottom of the 6th. Make it 9-8 in the bottom of the 6th. Yeah. Dylan Carey today, 2 for 3, and I believe he's got a home run as well.
We need a Spencer Swellenbach in the bullpen.
Yeah, we do. Husker softball, after a great opening weekend, they had a not so great second weekend. They are 5-5. They went 1-4 this weekend in the Tax Act Invitational in Clearwater, Florida. The 4 losses were all to teams ranked in the top 8 of the country. However, only one of those games was even a game. That was a 6-4 loss to number 8 Virginia Tech. In their losses to number 2 UCLA, number 4 Oklahoma State, number 3 Oklahoma State, number 4 Arkansas, they were outscored 24-1.
Yeah.
Their only win in the series was a 4-3 decision over Texas A&M. Next weekend, they play in Las Cruces, New Mexico, in the Troy Cox Classic. They will take on Oklahoma State, New Mexico State, Cal State Bakersfield, and the University of New Mexico twice. Football team, before we wrap up the starting gate, 2 more scholarship players have left the program. I believe by my count, they are down to 101. They need to get to 85 by the time we kick things off this next year in Minnesota. Alante Brown and Hunter Anthony no longer with the program. Anthony transferred in from Oklahoma State. Never really a factor. Got into the rotation a little bit on the offensive line last year. And Alante Brown, kind of surprising that as he was our second leading returning receiver with Marcus Washington being the leading receiver that was coming back for the Huskers. But everything that I've heard is he was not enrolled in school at all this semester and has not been a part of the team for a little while. and it was just basically announced not too long ago. With Alante Brown, though, they do say that there is a chance that the door would remain open for him to return.
Let's face it,
there's going to be some more attrition.
You're over 100 players on scholarship right now. 101, as I think you just mentioned. You got to get down to 85. Whatever way you do it, I'm sure. I think I read or heard Sean Callahan say, I don't want to quote him. If I'm wrong, Sean, I'm wrong on this. But there are guys that can go on scholarship, stay on scholarship, but retire from football.
Yep.
I think that coach thing, positive on how that works or how many guys you can do that with.
Well, there's been players here that have done that. Zach Darlington, I believe, is one that had the concussion issues.
Well, yeah, that was her injury thing, though.
Well, but he retired from the game.
Yeah.
And we've had other players, slipping my mind who it is anyway, a couple of years ago, but it's something that does happen.
Yep. That's just something to keep an eye on, because you got to get down to 85. And that is a concern to me, that 15 more guys after Alante Brown are going to have to leave the program.
Yeah. And what they're doing right now in winter conditioning. And I kind of want to touch on that, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah.
The video was dropped by the athletic department. And
I saw it. The sled thing.
Our audio video social media department at the University of Nebraska, if there's any college university in the country that does it better, I'll tip my cap to them. But I'll tell you right now, it is stellar. What stood out to me, and this is one of those where coming up on March 25th, there's a massive weekend of recruiting coming here. We've got the number 1 and the number 2 ranked players in the class of 2024.
Known as Dylan Raiola.
Yeah. So the top 2 players overall ranked in the 2024 class are going to be on campus. The list is lengthy, and it seems to be growing. A couple more were added yesterday. I'm not going to run through all of them right now. We'll talk about that in a bit. But here's the one thing. All of those players are following Nebraska's social media. They're seeing everything. And they woke up on Friday morning and they watched a video with the entire team out on a snow-packed Memorial Stadium turf. It's 10 degrees below
zero. They look like they're
zero,
having fun.
and they're pushing sleds through the snow across. The guys are losing their minds, having a blast. And you could tell by some of the video, this was not anywhere close.
And I like the idea. Somebody, I think, mentioned this idea that we want to do something on this field that nobody else has done, that not even we have done. I mean, we want to be on this field celebrating. And, I think that's the attitude I got from it generally.
The speech at the end of that video about the blood, sweat, and tears that you guys are going to put in on this field. I mean, this is our field. This is our home. No one.
To quote Broderick Thomas.
Yes. Will work as hard or deserve to win as much on this field as you guys do. It's just, again, everything and everybody involved with the Matt Rule's coaching staff and his football operations staff, they're really damn good at their jobs.
Nebraska leading 36-28 over Maryland, 15-32 left to go in the second half. This would be the biggest. Where would you rank this if they were to win today? Is this the best win for Nebraska if they win? No, Creighton is.
Not even close.
Creighton is.
Iowa was a better win. Rutgers is a better win.
But this is an 18-8 team that's going to make the tournament that just beat the formerly number 1 ranked team in the country badly.
Well, and if a referee doesn't make a phantom call on CJ Wilcher, Nebraska would have handed Purdue their first loss of the season.
Yeah,
but
true.
But I'm just saying, to me, this would be probably number 4 for me on the season, behind Creighton number 1, Iowa 2, at Rutgers
just because
3.
it's Iowa, because I was good. I was good. I mean, they're probably a tournament team, but
and I don't mean they suck because their team is not good. I mean it's Iowa and they suck.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just breaking story. Iowa sucks. But Nebraska doesn't today. 36-30, 14-39 left to go in the first half. Do you want to talk well, should we save hoops? We'll just give score updates.
Yeah, we'll do that. And then,
But the Tamanaga thing is an interesting discussion. Maybe we can carry that for 4 more minutes before we go to break.
absolutely. His ability to move without the basketball, I was talking to you right before I made the comment. I'm like, how do you prepare for what Nebraska is doing offensively, especially Tominaga? There's no rhyme or reason as to why he cuts a certain direction. I mean, Eric Strickland will be able to tell us in the Hoops postgame show, which is going to be brought to you by Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits, as always, as well as Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. But he never lets on as to what direction he's going to go. He's standing there and he'll almost, just kind of a little bit of back and forth, left,
endless,
right, left, right,
boundless
left, right.
energy.
And is he going to break to his left and try to come open off a screen for an open 3, or is he going to break to his right, split a double team, and get a pass from Derek Walker for an easy layup?
And it reminds me, people are going to get mad when I say this, but because he's a very, 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 very poor man's, because nobody's Steph Curry. He's not Steph Curry. He's been called the Japanese Steph Curry. But it gives you an idea of what a Steph Curry can do for your basketball team. Not that we didn't know. The champions and championships and the MVPs kind of back that up. But you see it in real life at Nebraska where you're having a shooter that Nebraska hasn't had in a long time. We haven't seen this since, he might go down potentially as the best 3-point shooter I've ever seen at Nebraska, including Kerry Cochorn. And I would put Pike and Kerry. It's a very short list.
Yeah, those two are the two.
But when you have one of those guys, along with the ability to cut, what it does is take your defender not 20 feet out like they were like a month ago. They're going 30 feet out to guard him, which opens up Derek Walker, who's been a valuable piece to this puzzle. Somebody asked Hoiberg the other day, "Are you running the triangle?" He laughed at me.
No. Because the announcers during the Rutgers game were like, "Oh, they're running the triangle." The color guy who evidently doesn't know basketball.
Right. But you got the guy in the middle and you got the shooters. So it looks kind of like a triangle type offense. Hoiberg said, "I don't know where that's coming from
there's
all.
No triangle."
But it's effective when you have a guy with boundless energy. His defense isn't that bad either, but just to chase him all over the floor like you kind of do with Steph Curry. And then when he catches it, you kind of overrun it. And he's able to dribble beyond you or make a great pass. The spacing just with him on the floor is so much better. I'll ask you this question, and it's a crazy question. Would you rather have this team with Tamanaga and Wiltshire at starters or the old one with Bandamel and Gary? And I know that sounds crazy. Just a month ago, that's absurd. But they're where they're playing right now. I'd almost take this team over that team.
I can understand why you'd say that, but I still the defense that we play now is nothing like
it's not close.
And the offensive rebounds that we give up now are nothing like.
But the shooting is so much better.
It is, but there's changes and things that could have been done with that team. I mean, Emmanuel Bandamel, when he went down with his knee injury, was shooting 22% from 3, but he was also shooting 77% from the line.
Right.
Well, there's a pretty simple adjustment to his game right there, if you ask me. Stop shooting the damn 3, drive to the hoop, get fouled if nothing else, or dish off. But I mean, he had taken at the time the second most number of threes, and he's shooting 22%. That had to end regardless. It's another just fantastic example of this coaching staff, the buy-in that they have of studying their roster and putting guys in positions to be able to be successful.
Yeah. We've heard the phrase space and pace that Hoiberg wants to play with over the first 3 years. It didn't look like it, and I didn't always know what he meant. But he had a great quote this week. Hoiberg said, space and pace doesn't always mean that you have to shoot it quickly. It means you get the ball over half court and you get into your offense, and then you cut and screen with pace and purpose. So that's something that I haven't seen since he's been here. And now I'm going, oh, yeah, this is what the Hoiberg offense is supposed to look like. It finally looks like I thought it would look much earlier in his tenure.
Yeah, and whether it was personnel, whether it was personalities, one of those personalities was actually talking into this microphone earlier today. Who knows? But
I think sometimes the light bulb you don't hear that all the time in sports. The light bulb goes on. This is the team that I least expected the light bulb to go on for. After I thought with Bandamel and Gary out, I thought maybe they have a chance to win a couple more games. I didn't think we'd ever have the discussion, is this team better than that team?
Completely agree.
And, a guy that I still think is not mentioned often enough because he doesn't do anything spectacular, but every time he goes in, he's good. I mean, just solid. Sam Hoiberg.
Completely agree with you.
I think I asked this question a couple of weeks ago. Would it be ironic to you that Sam Hoiberg saves Fred Hoiberg's job? And I think he's kind of doing that because he looks like a Big Ten player, not just a guy that you had to use to fill in for this year, and then you'll forget about him for the rest of the year, and he'll be at Concordia next year or something like that. He has a chance to play in the Big Ten in my mind.
Well, and the one thing that I brought up last week on the show that was it was a Husker Rewind with we had Nick centered in, Rico and Jake Bachhoven, as you were having some family time.
Yeah, it was the Omaha Heart Association ball, and they raised $1.4 million.
That's not change you find in the couch.
No, and based on some of the bids starting at $25,000.
There you go.
I'm guessing unless you have a really good couch. I mean, you better have a really, really good couch.
Well, the one thing that I brought up with Sam Hoiberg was the fact that his basketball IQ is at a level that some other guys will never get to. They're super talented, whatever, but he always understands. He's one of those guys that his angles, you see linebackers and defensive ends and safeties and cornerbacks, when they have to take an angle to get to a running back or a receiver or a quarterback that's running free, there's a specific in your mind, the angle you need to take. And some guys know it, some guys don't. And no matter what the angle Sam Hoiberg needs to take, it's like every single time he finds the most efficient way to get from A to B. If that means going 10 feet out of his way because of a mess and a glob of people, but it's going to get him there faster, he does that.
I heard in the huddle, a couple of Maryland players, they were discussing it. I know Hoiberg's small. I know he's small, but he could play. He was trying to convince his players early in the game when Nebraska had a lead, and now they don't. It's Maryland 38-36. That Hoiberg can play a little bit. And I think that's part of the adjustment against playing like somebody like Sam is that I think that a lot of teams have misjudged how good he can play. And they hang back or they don't guard him or they just don't give him as much credit as they should. They will before too long.
Well, and the other argument was that, it's year 4. And you actually made this comment earlier in the year before we saw what Sam Hoiberg can do and what Jamarcus Lawrence has now turned into and Denham Dawson. But, it's year 4. How come Fred doesn't have better depth to survive the injuries? And I'm throwing out, tell me Sam Hoiberg, Denham Dawson, and Jamarcus Lawrence, and now Blaise Keita are not depth.
Yeah. And Denham's not even playing right now.
Yeah, right now. I don't know. He didn't play at all last game.
He's kind of gone to the end of the bench, and I wonder if that's an attempt to bring back C.J. Wilcher, who has been better since he has come back. But I've also heard from Fred Hoiberg at time it might be matchup related. Like you see that with Blaise Keita all the time, that he doesn't play unless the matchup's right?
And not good news. Jamarcus Lawrence is down.
And they make a 3 on us. That's one of those things where an injury happens. Guys are paying attention to a different dude. The ball rolls to a guy that's wide open for a 3, and he knocks it home.
Yeah, that didn't look good. 41-38. Maryland on top of Nebraska now, and things have kind of gotten a little sideways for the Husker Hoops team. I think this is now an 11-0 run, or no, an 11-2 run by Maryland.
This feels like it's going to go down to the wire. I think this is, you get a lot of time left. You got 12 minutes left. So I think this is just going to be one of those back and forths for the rest of the way. We have no guests today, Mike. It's partly Husker Rewind. It's partly the post-game hoop show.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll
a little of each.
Yeah. We'll roll on this hour. We'll talk a little bit of Nebraska baseball, bottom of the 7th at San Diego, tied at 9. And we'll update you on Husker hoops right after this.
Mike Shaver here to tell you that Trek CBD has a new name, and it's Hemp Boss. It's the same products you've grown to love, just a new name. Spring sports are on the horizon, and Hemp Boss has a variety of products that help calm me down during games and on the golf course so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options for you to calm you down before, during, and after any event. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Hemp Boss has it all at 84th and Andermatt. Hemp Boss, naturally healthy CBD.
Tractor Supply is looking for full-time team members for their Waverly Distribution Center. Tractor Supply has a new progressive pay model where team members receive 5 wage increases in the first 2 years of employment with the ability to earn up to $24 per hour. Applicants can expect a 3- and 4-day workweek schedule with additional overtime days with both day and night shift schedules available. At Tractor Supply, they work hard, have fun, and make money. Apply today at tractorsupply.jobs.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, and they've built neighborhoods in and around Lincoln for over 25 years.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. Get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. Let's put numbers together. Let's get a budget put together. And let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
8 Big Ten running backs in their top 25 returning in 24/7 sports. You can certainly argue that Anthony Grant could be in there. Nobody would bat an eye.
That's just because the Iowa running back ended the season on a higher note. I don't care about the end of the season. Look at the entire season. Anthony Grant had a great season.
The good news for Nebraska is if Anthony Grant does fall off, A.J. Allen looks like he's going to be there. And then you have Ramir Johnson, who led the team in rushing 2 years ago. And
Gabe Urban, who was your starter 2 years ago.
So, I mean, they've got a great room.
Back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike.
That's old school. Yeah? No school like the old school.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Belby. That's Tom Stevens. Hello. Nebraska baseball in San Diego, 9-9, bottom of the 7th. Nebraska basketball, 41-38. And
Breidenbach's got to finish that.
Yeah.
Breidenbach's just got to finish that at the rim.
Yeah, Jamarcus Lawrence went down a moment ago for Husker Hoops. He's sitting behind the bench right now. No word on how severe the injury is.
You said it didn't look great.
It was just as I was kind of glancing up, I saw him go down weird, and it didn't look great. And Nebraska, boy, that's one of those little tiny moments in the game where you're like, this one right here, Breidenbach with an easy layup that he goes up kind of, like he's wide open and gets the shot blocked. And then on the other end, Nebraska has a defensive rebound, 3 guys right there, and they fumble it out of bounds.
Yeah, that's the bigger deal to me, where the loose ball is yours. All you have to do is pick it up, and you can't. But they do survive it, and Breidenbach hits the rebound. So
I want to talk about the women's basketball team right now. They've lost 4 in a row, and the Milkman chimed in on the Starter Heyman text line. You're more than welcome to as well, 402-464-5685. Or you can call us on the Starter Heyman text line, same number, 402-464-5685. But the Milkman chimed in and said the ladies definitely miss Allison Widener, and I agree.
Yeah,
but they also
she can make shots. She handles the ball, and she's an energy person. You're really high energy.
Yeah, but at the beginning of the year, they thought they had lost Sam Hybe,
right?
And she's back, and I mean they're not the same player. I get it, and I also understand that Widener was a big part of the team. But this is a team that to me just seems like with the talent level that is there, even without Widener, I would think, especially the game at Minnesota, you'd be doing a little better.
I would buy the Hoiberg argument over with Bandamel and Gary Moore than I would the Widener injury for Nebraska. And I know when it happened, Amy Williams was very concerned. She's a high energy girl.
Yep.
She's our spark plug, that type of thing. I get it. But injuries happen in the game of basketball, in every game. They happen. Maybe not to Nebraska basketball on the men's side. That's just been unlucky as far as that is concerned. A lot of times when you lose somebody to an injury, it's for 5 games, not for the entire year. And then to lose 2 guys for the entire year. And I understand Widener is really good and very important to this team, but they've dropped games that they just shouldn't have. This is a talented team with or without her. They should have won more games.
I completely agree. And you can say, well, she made the NCAA tournament last year. Yeah, and she got absolutely embarrassed. did Amy Williams and her team.
Gonzaga?
They didn't even look like they belonged. And it wasn't like it was a 1-16.
I think Gonzaga's bad. I think they won their league.
Well, it was an 8-9 matchup, though.
Yeah.
You don't get blown out of the gym when you're playing a team that's an 8. When you know what I mean? That's one where
she's in. Let's face it. I don't think she's in any danger. I really don't. I mean, maybe you do. I think she has the argument that this is the toughest league in the country, which from top to bottom it probably is.
Yeah,
has the number one player in the country, and Caitlin Clark, who showed it yesterday in 30 points. So losing to Iowa is not necessarily. It's not a surprise at all. That's the number 7 team in the country. It's the way they lost, right? It's the way they've been playing.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been fantastic here as of late, and it just the one that I guess I continue to go back to was the game against Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota dropped like 7 in a row. They only had one league win,
and they had a big lead with Illinois and unable to pull that one out, unable to finish it off.
Well, and then the game before that, Northwestern, they almost blow a 20-point lead. They ultimately wind up winning 78-66. But yeah, the game against Illinois, they give up a 20-0 run, and I mean, I don't know. Things are a little discombobulated right now with the Husker women. We'll see if Amy Williams and the gang can get it turned back around. Just 2 games to go here in the regular season. This Wednesday at Illinois, and then next Sunday, 1:00 at PBA Senior Day against Northwestern, the team that almost came back and knocked them off back on the 6th of February. So we'll see how things shake out there. They're still in the bottom of the 7th, and it is still 9-9. Huskers and San Diego Toreros going at it, game 3 of 4 between those two.
The story really has been clutch hitting, or the lack of clutch hitting, I think, for Nebraska the first 2 games. They fall 7-3 on the season opener on Friday night in San Diego. And San Diego is a good baseball team, 37-20 last year, a team that beat Vanderbilt before losing the next 2 in the NCAA tournament. This is a good team, though. But 3 runs on 5 hits, no errors on Friday night, but they left 11 men on base. San Diego owns 6. Bryce Matthews had a big hit, a double, drove in a couple of runs. Emmett Olson pitched okay. He got the loss, but 3 runs in 5 innings. You can kind of take that. In fact, the starting pitching, I think, has been pretty good. Saturday, 5-3 loss last night to San Diego. They get the Josh McCarron 2-run bomb for Nebraska, but Nebraska strikes out 12 times. And they leave a lot of runners in 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
Well, they're 3 for 19 through the first 2 games with runners in scoring position. But the key thing is, and this is what was kind of the bugaboo last year, it was like, okay, game's tied, it's late innings. We need to make a play to win, or don't make a play that costs us the game. And last night, 2 walk batters and a RBI single, and then a wild pitch that scores a run in the bottom of the 8th after you just came back and tied it. And like, that can't happen. And there's some freshmen that are playing right now for Will Bolt and the coaching staff right now too, that they're in their 2nd game today, their 3rd game playing major college baseball. So it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, and we'll see if they can get the win today. There's one out now on the bottom of the 7th.
You were talking about little plays, just the little plays meaning such a big difference. That's what Hoiberg did. I mean, he had no chance to get the rebound, but he swatted at it and he hit it off a Maryland guy, and Nebraska gets the ball back. That's what I'm talking about with Hoiberg. He shows up in very minute ways sometimes where you think, well, that guy's not doing anything. And then you realize they probably won the game because of little things like that.
Yeah. And
I just like him. I just really like him. And I know I apologize for him all the time. Would I offer him a scholarship? I would probably not offer him a scholarship still. I mean, obviously not. You don't have to. His dad's doing okay financially. I think he can afford his own scholarship. But I think he's a worthy scholarship holder. Smaller, even in the Big Ten. I think he could be a scholarship guy. He just does little things that seem so weird, but he does them over and over.
Yeah, and then little things that seem so weird and cost Nebraska, like another Derek Walker turnover.
Yeah,
he's get so careless.
Turnovers have been a big problem. So there we go. We'll keep an eye on the game. We're going to do the Hoops post-game show whenever the game ends. We'll just take over and do that. Do want to mention softball. They won yesterday over Texas A&M, and they're a 25th ranked team, but it hasn't gone well overall since they've started playing some of the better teams.
Yeah, they got outscored 24-1 against number 2 UCLA, number 4 Oklahoma State, number 7 Arkansas. And then the other game that they lost over the weekend was against number 8 Virginia Tech. That was more of a game. It was a 6-4 loss, but the games against UCLA, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas were not pretty. This weekend is going to be another interesting test because they play number 4 Oklahoma State again in the Troy Cox Classic down in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Then they've got New Mexico State, Cal State Bakersfield, and then 2 games against the University of New Mexico, the Lobos of Albuquerque.
I guess I wasn't completely done talking Husker baseball. They are going right now. You said tied at 9 at the last check with San Diego. This is game 3 of a 4-game series. They're playing tomorrow on President's Day. So this is not the final game of the series. But if I said this when we started talking about Husker baseball, I think at the starting gate, I would have taken 1 out of 3 this weekend, especially knowing it's a tough start. It's a really good team. Again, a team that won 37 games last year. You're on the road. Nebraska's got so many new pieces. I would have thought, if you could win 1 game out of 4, if you could win 2, it's like stealing to me. And they could still do that. If they win today and they win tomorrow, that's by my count, a split of the series.
Well, and it would be huge if they could do that. The frustrating thing with today, though, they're up 8-2.
Yeah.
And
bullpen, man, I'm telling you, if they had a Swellenbach, it would really help you. I mean, that's what.
I'll be honest. If you had a Colby Gomez,
Gomez, they need somebody that can come in, and we thought Shea Shanneman was going to be that guy, right? I mean, Shanneman is the guy with a nasty slider. He's a guy that you probably don't want to pitch 5, 6, 7 innings, but that slider is tough to see, especially late in games when he's throwing gas in it. He's had a really good career at times. I thought he would be a good closer, and maybe it turns out to be. I'm not apologizing for Husker baseball, but starting out, it takes a northern school, a snow school, just longer.
Oh yeah,
to get up to speed.
What was it? Their first practice of the year was actually outside for the first time in like a decade. This year, Jalen Worthy is on the mound right now for the Huskers. The left-hander has 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. So we'll see if the Huskers can figure out a way to win this one.
Maryland just knocks down a 3. They lead 47-40 with 8 minutes left to go? Something like 8:06 left to go in the second half. Nebraska in a battle with a pretty good basketball team, but they'll need to chop some wood for sure in the last 8 minutes of this game. Let's get to break. What do you want to talk about before we do the post game?
I want to bring up a couple of football things. The Big Ten is going to add UCLA and USC in 2024, and the schedule is a big thing right now. And it sounds like they're going to have 3 protected crossover games, and then there'll be a rotation of the rest of the teams in the league with now 16 teams. I want to talk a little bit about there's 4 scenarios, I think, for Nebraska that are on the table.
Okay.
I want to get your thoughts on that. And then also Luke Mullen of the Journal Star wrote a fantastic article about the success of your recruiting class translating into wins or not.
Yep.
And where Nebraska falls. So let's talk about that when we come back.
Some Husker football on the table. We'll talk about it coming up next.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
This is the Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind. I'm Mike Belby. That's Tom Stevens.
Hello.
And Nebraska in San Diego gets out of the 7th without any damage done by San Diego. It is 9-9 to the top of the 8th. Bryce Matthews up on the mound for San Diego. Ryan Robinson and Casey Burnham is on deck for the Huskers. We'll see if they can pull this one out. Nebraska basketball going on as we speak. Maryland leads Nebraska 47-42. 7:39 left in half number 2. Maryland just missed the first of 2 foul shots. Now, Tom, Nebraska football is going to have 2 new conference mates. Well, basketball, everybody is going to. And the schedule in the football side, much talking about it, much ado about it. And they are talking about having 3 protected crossover games in football. They're going to be on your schedule all the time. Iowa is a given. It is carved in stone. However,
well, aren't we getting rid of we're getting rid of the divisions anyway?
Divisions are gone.
Yeah.
This is just simply there's going to be 3 crossover games. They're calling them crossover. I don't know it because I'm like, what are they crossing over?
How do they cross over if everybody's in the same division?
I'm using the terminology that I read in the article. But there's 3 protected games that essentially will happen every year. Michigan, Ohio State, obvious. For Nebraska, Iowa's the only given. And then you have 4 teams, and you're going to go with one of each of the 2 pairs. The 2 pairs being USC, UCLA, and Minnesota, Wisconsin. So, in your opinion, not necessarily what suits Nebraska better, but what would you rather see as the 3 permanent games we're going to play every single year moving forward? Iowa, USC, Minnesota, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin.
Iowa, USC, Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin should be our true rival.
Or Iowa, UCLA, Minnesota, Iowa, UCLA, Wisconsin.
Oh, Hoiberg just trained one. I love that kid. I love Sam Hoiberg. I'm confessing my love for that guy. Okay, give me the choices again because I was too excited.
All right, Iowa and USC.
Iowa, USC, Wisconsin.
With either. Okay, so you're going to take Iowa, USC, Wisconsin in that grouping. Iowa, UCLA, and then either Minnesota or Wisconsin.
I don't like Minnesota either. I would almost choose Minnesota over Iowa. I know we all hate Iowa, but I don't like PJ Fleck. And I think there would almost be more satisfaction for me right now to beat Minnesota as much as I hate Iowa. I don't.
So
like
then why
PJ Fleck.
why did you want Wisconsin over Minnesota in the Iowa USC one?
I just changed on the air. I mean, there's a lot of hatred in my body, so I have enough to spread around.
Tominaga just missed a wide open 3.
I saw that after Hoiberg had made a 3. It's 50-45 with 5 minutes and 49 seconds left to go.
All righty, 1 out. Bryce Matthews flew out or grounded out, and then Casey Berman up to bat for Nebraska. 1 out, top of the 8th, tied at 9 with San Diego. So overall, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin. Iowa's the given. That's not Iowa's got to have. You don't have a choice.
But I think Wisconsin. I mean, why don't people hate Wisconsin as Nebraska fans more, almost than Iowa? In that they have your colors, they took your coach that used to be on your staff, Barry Alvarez. He turned it into a giant. And they did it in a way that copied Nebraska completely. Like he stole everything good about Nebraska physical football and the ability to run it and stop the run. And he moved it to Madison, Wisconsin. I don't understand why more Nebraska fans don't hate Barry Alvarez and Wisconsin.
I don't either, and I don't understand why referees don't call fouls when Tominaga gets hammered, but he was livid coming back down the court.
These referees, Jake Muehlheisen was saying before the show, and Kent Pavelka as well, that they just, before the broadcast, that they just don't call a lot of fouls. They try to let them play.
Yeah, but when it's one and you're talking about a 5-point game with 5 minutes to play and the guy goes under and just gets hammered, you got to call the foul.
They just didn't call one on Nebraska either, with the Maryland player going to the rim. That looked like a foul.
Well, and I know they missed a goaltending on
Greasel.
Yeah, they missed a goaltending on Maryland earlier. So Luke Mullen had the article in the Journal-Star earlier today, recruiting wins. How much importance do we need to put into recruiting and how they translate into wins? What they did is they essentially said, okay, we're going to rank teams over the last 10 years, and we're going to take their average recruiting ranking, and we're going to make that number whatever it is, and then we're going to take the average number of wins, and we're just going to rank the teams. So Alabama had, over that stretch of time, the best recruiting class every year and the most wins on average over anybody else.
Breaking news. Blaze Cada just made a free throw.
Really?
Blaze Cada just made a free throw.
I hope it's on video.
I think it is. I am taping this game. I'll give you a call and let you know tonight. But it looked good, too. It was right on track. But I was just like stunned that he made. Oh, of course, he missed the second one. But I'm still celebrating free throw number one.
So in these recruiting rankings versus wins average, best team over the last 10 years?
Alabama.
No. This is the most. So in other words, the team with the lowest average recruiting ranking, but the highest average number of wins.
That's right. So you get points for recruiting and winning.
Well, so essentially, yeah. So essentially they ranked whoever had whatever you were in the rankings. So Alabama's number one every year in the rankings.
Right.
So they averaged number one. So they're number one. And whoever be it, I'm going to throw out Kansas State because they had the best. Their recruiting and their average number of wins was a plus 40. So,
but you know what? Part of that is ridiculous in that there's so many good players in the Kansas JUCO ranks.
And they utilize it so well.
That's all they recruit is JUCO players who never get a good rating. They're just not watched. High school evaluators just don't seem to have an interest in evaluating JUCO recruits very well. I contend that that's a misnomer a little bit, but I know what you mean. The lowest route, because nobody looks at their classes and says, this guy's good. When was the last time they had Michael Bishop? Was he the last good recruit they've had?
It might be.
Was Deuce even a highly ranked guy?
I don't know.
Coming out of high school, I don't know if Deuce Vaughn was.
Sam Greasel, 2 free throws, 50-48 Maryland, 4:21 to go in the second half. So the average recruiting ranking versus the average number of wins at the end of the season. The teams that, bottom line, do the most with the least amount of talent, according to the recruiting rankings, Kansas State was number one. Their wins had them 40 positions higher. Wisconsin was second, 30 wins higher. Iowa was third, plus 25. The rest of the top 10, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Wake Forest, Utah, and then in 8th, Northwestern, plus 18, tied for 9th, Minnesota, plus 17, along with TCU.
So Nebraska was, what, third worst? They were third worst.
Let's flip it.
Yeah.
Nebraska, average recruiting ranking, 18th. Average number of wins, 43rd. That's minus 25. Third worst in the country behind Tennessee and a surprising one to me, the University of California. But the average number of wins was so bad.
They're in California. That's a little bit of cheating.
Granted, but they've got all the guys that could come there.
Right.
They get the leftovers from UCLA and USC. They still had a top 30 over the last 10 years.
Yeah, they had good recruiting classes, but they just didn't win.
They just never won. But now Maryland, surprisingly, was in this as well. They were minus 23 in the recruiting rankings versus the average number of wins. And it just speaks volumes to essentially Scott Frost and Mike Riley and how they failed to take the talent that they had
and sometimes keep them. How many guys left because of
that
COVID?
too.
I think that was part of the deal. The other thing was they just didn't develop guys. Guys didn't get better. It does interest me looking at this list. Like Florida was 6th, and obviously they haven't performed on the field very well. Auburn was 7th. Yep. They've just fired their coach. Texas A&M, or Texas, I should say, 10th. But maybe they're getting things on track with Sarkisian, but they've really struggled in the state of Texas.
I was stunned. I thought Texas was going to be number 1 when I started reading this article because they've always had great recruiting classes, and even the last years of Mac Brown, they were so bad.
Yeah,
they always underachieved, and I was actually surprised that they were 10th.
What refreshes me about Matt Rule is I don't think he necessarily cares about recruiting rankings. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good at recruiting. I mean, this last class kind of proved that they can recruit, but they're also not afraid to take undervalued dudes. Just because you haven't offered him Alabama doesn't mean we don't love him. He runs a 10-400. We're taking it. So it'll be interesting to see if they ever factor those things in. What is also interesting to me, I think you mentioned this, Wisconsin, always in the 30s and 40s. Iowa, I think they averaged 42nd. Minnesota, right around 50, especially before PJ Fleck got there.
Yeah. Northwestern, 60th.
There are certain teams that just recruit to their strengths. Wisconsin, they know the state is filled with great linemen. So they go get great offensive linemen and great running backs, and they run the football.
I'll argue that. Wisconsin does not go get great linemen. Wisconsin gets Wisconsin boys that grew up on a farm. Just
there have been a lot of them that have played in the NFL.
But I'm saying these are not 5-star guys.
Maybe they should be. Maybe somebody else isn't evaluating them.
Wisconsin's offensive line reminds me so much, and it's exactly what you said earlier about Barry Alvarez taking what Nebraska did so well under Bob Devaney and Tom Osborne. You take the kids that have the belief in the program, and they grow up in the state, and they're just good, strong, tough kids, and a lot of them were wrestlers in high school, and you teach them and make them better players.
Do you know what that is? What it's called? It's called an identity.
And it's called development.
They recruit to an identity and develop. That means they don't necessarily need the 5-star. If the 3-star, they think they can develop into a 5-star.
Yeah.
And I think that's a team that knows what it wants. Yeah. They don't care. Here, they're going to take the great player if they're there, but they're not going to recruit a guy just because he doesn't have a bunch of stars beside his name. And I think a lot of teams have made that mistake in recruiting. What was it Matt Rule said about 4-stars? Yeah, there's 4-stars out there, but there's 4-stars that I don't want. And there are 4-stars that should be 4-stars and other guys who really aren't that should be. Something I've listened to a lot of Matt Rule, so I'm probably already confusing the lines. He said so many great things. It just seems like teams that know how to win, know what they want in recruiting, and stars aren't a big deal. And I would say Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota have recruited that way. Nebraska needs to find a way to do that because they win every year over those teams in recruiting, but they don't win on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Blaise Keita with a huge rebound off a miss there, 53-48 Maryland, 3:23 to play in half number 2. Baseball-wise, an update. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Jalen Worthy still on the mound for Nebraska. Game still tied at 9. So nice job by Worthley out of the bullpen for the Huskers.
Pretty jump hook there by Derek. He's added a little bit to his repertoire, which Strick has demanded at times. I want to see more as far as post moves are concerned. That was a nice little jump hook by Derek Walker. And he's had a few of those today. A couple that looked like they shouldn't have gone in, but they went in.
He's had a lot of shots in the last handful of games that look like they shouldn't have gone in. But again, how many hours does he sit there and work and practice at that? I mean, he's got such a deft touch around the rim. It's amazing.
Did they, I think Maryland kept the ball in that Strick. Did they? Maryland is up 53-50 with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go.
Is that Casey that's down? Nope, Greasel.
That was Greasel that dove for it and might have gotten it. Looked like a floor burn, but it could have been more than that.
It looked like a hip. Ouch. Yeah, there's no padding on the basketball court. You know, the one thing I learned, I'm going to change the subject. This is a total 180, but that's what I do. I got on ice skates for the first time at 35 years old, and I understand completely why hockey players wear padding, because the ice is not soft. And I fell down a lot, and I enjoyed the pads.
So, well, it's the Frozen Four is this weekend, right?
I believe it is.
Yeah, so there you go. It's a perfect timing for that, getting your hockey mode. We're still in basketball mode. Nebraska trailing by 3. And as you mentioned, Greasel goes diving for the basketball. It's off on Greasel. I think he's okay. I think he got up and
he seemed to be up and okay.
He's up and okay. But the ball goes to Maryland with just a few minutes left to go. So we're going to be getting into the Hoops post-game show.
Hoops post-game. Let's jump into a break here, and I want to let you know, though, in San Diego, Toreros 9, Huskers 9 to the top of the 9th.
Ooh, okay. I thought you were going to say they were up.
No.
You almost scared me. 9-9. Good baseball game. We'll check back up on Husker baseball and Husker basketball coming up next.
A new year means new goals and upgrading, but that doesn't only apply to health and fitness. Mullen Motors can get you into a new vehicle right now and get your 2023 started off the right way. They cleared off their 2022 inventory and have tons of new vehicles to choose from to make sure you get to where you need to be this year. Out with the old and in with the new. Stop by Mullen Motors today, just north of 48th and Lake.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome back. Melby, I want to watch more games of Strick.
Strick gets hype, bro.
He gets hype. I love it. It's a good game in Lincoln PVA. Maryland 56-54 over Nebraska. Nebraska with the ball, though, with 50 seconds left? Something like that?
The thing is, the play was made by Tominaga to get the call.
And he never misses at the free throw line. I see. Yeah, I said it. I didn't jinx him.
I was like, I was already starting to knock, man.
That's right. Announcer jinx, not happening here. Tominaga is pretty much money. Was he missed 5 all year, 5 or 6 all year? I mean, best shooter in the history of Nebraska basketball. We automatically say Pike. But this guy,
would say Pike, Kerry Cohorn, man, he was one of my favorite players because
If he comes back to Nebraska next year, I think he could. Yeah, Chris Cresswell's one.
Good call.
Brian Banks back in my day, but he was more of just a great player. But he is he's fun to watch, and he's as fun, I think, Strick, of any player to watch in the league right now. The way he's playing right now with the last 4 games, he's just been incredible. 58-56 though, with 41 seconds left to go.
Well, and that's
Maryland on
play.
top.
That was good D. The guy just made a shot.
Yeah. Well, Nebraska needs to make another one after a timeout.
That they do. Out in San Diego, top of the 9th, 2 outs. Nobody on for Nebraska. Game still tied at 9. It's one they got to figure out a way to win, man.
They're up 8-2.
They're up 8-2. That's a game you cannot lose. I don't care if you.
How late was that?
innings.
8-2 after what?
It was 8-2 after 5.
Yeah.
Or no, excuse me, after 4. Nebraska took an 8-2 lead top of the 5th, and then 5 runs scored by San Diego on the bottom.
I don't think it's starting pitching so far either, because they got a good performance on Friday night. They just couldn't hold it in the bullpen. Saturday night they go to the 6th inning, down or tied at 3-3. It's been the bullpen late. As I mentioned, you really like to have that guy like a Spencer Swallenbach, which nobody has, to come in and just say the game's over. Sorry, 8th, 9th inning. I think you win one of these first 2 games for sure if you have somebody like that.
Oh, absolutely. And for those that don't know, Jameer Young for Maryland, he's a pretty salty player.
It's good to see that Jamarcus Lawrence is moving around. It looked like that might have been – you were a little concerned when he first went down.
I caught peripheral vision as I kind of glanced back up towards the TV, and the way he went down, it just looked – I didn't see what twisted or whatever, but the way he was down, I was like, oh, that may not be good. But he hasn't come back in the game, but he is still standing up and around the team in the huddle, so that's good.
So we keep an eye on both the basketball game and the baseball game as Nebraska is in extra innings in San Diego, playing San Diego. They dropped the first 2. There's another game tomorrow. Strick, I asked this to Melby, Mike Melby here, former voice of the Lincoln Stars. I'll ask you, would you take this particular version of Nebraska basketball or the fully healthy one?
I actually like this one a little bit better.
I do too.
I just like the way that they're playing. They're gritty. They're staying in there. They're fighting. Even right now, there's adversity. I mean, like guys that have been contributing for them are down right now. Jamarcus is kind of down. Then you've also had CJ that kind of looked like he kind of pulled a hamstring or strained or something. So, I mean, you're just staying in the fight. And, Maryland's a pretty good team here. And that's what makes it pretty tough.
Well, and that play right there was kind of, to me, costly because they couldn't get the ball in. And so they wasted their last time out.
What do you run here, Strick? You got 39 seconds left to go. 27 seconds on the shot clock.
2 for 1.
I think if you can run spread, making it look as if you're gonna get Tamanaga or somebody for a shot. Get the ball to Derek Walker about that free throw line area. Let him quick drive, and hopefully you'll get a quick bucket before the 30 seconds.
Hoiberg was asked about the triangle. Do you see any resemblance to the triangle this offense? No. But just because, why would anybody even say that? Just because Walker's at the top?
Yeah, I was hoping that would have been a little bit better, but now at this point, get the best shot you can.
You got 23 seconds on the clock. They can still get a good shot.
Yeah.
It's got to go to Tamanaga, right?
Yeah, he's struggling tonight. I mean, if he's attacking the basket or you get him on a back door, or he runs a pick and roll with Derek Walker, I like it. But this is what I like right here. That part.
Oh my goodness! And he was
how
fouled.
Was he not fouled? That's
how is he not get? He was fouled.
Yeah, they don't give him the benefit as much as other people get it. That's sad.
And Fred making that comment in the one press conference really says something, because Fred's not a guy that's going to really kind of dig any holes with any officials, especially. And for him to sit there and say, you got a guy that plays as well as he does, that does what he does on the floor, to not get these calls is just beyond frustrating. And then to get ticky-tack ones on the other end.
Yeah. He's at least an honorable mention at the very worst in this league. And he doesn't seem to get any respect from officials.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't care what you say. The fact that this game is tied right now, Maryland was looking like they could have ran away with it. And the fact that it's tied right now, win or lose at this point, you just gotta be happy for them, because they put in the work.
You said earlier when you sat down, you said Nebraska doesn't win games like this.
They don't normally win games like this.
What do you mean by this?
Well, anything where they don't score above 60 and get closer to the 70s, they struggle. And this is one of those games where they're not shooting the ball well. They're not shooting the ball well from three. They're doing pretty good from the free throw line. They play great defense against Maryland, but these low scoring games, they don't normally win. Now they've won their share of them, a few of them early, but usually against a Big 8 opponent, they don't win.
I'm going to make a statement. You tell me whether or not I'm crazy. Sam Hoiberg is a Big Ten basketball player.
Sam Hoiberg can compete in the Big Ten.
He could play on this team. He could play in this league.
Yeah, he can play.
I think
he's got to play the point guard position if he's going to really do it. But he can definitely spot and get minutes there.
I just like the fact that he always seems to make the easy, simple play, something that really the head coach has been demanding all season long. He doesn't get it all the time. And
now Nebraska does pretty well in overtime. They play pretty well.
We're good with going to overtime, right? We extend the show. We'll go to at least 7 o'clock. The post-game show might go to 8 o'clock.
And that's the thing. I want to jump into this because we've got two partners that we're thrilled to have on board. Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits, over 3,000 different wines, 2,000 plus bottles of spirits, 1,500 beers and seltzers. I don't know that we need to say a whole heck of a lot more. Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits, just north of 27th and Superior in Lincoln, right next to Hy-Vee. And also a huge thanks to Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, helping home and business owners in and around Lincoln for half a century. Action offers a full range of heating and cooling services, as well as plumbing repairs, maintenance, and remodeling. And a massive thank you to those two sponsors for sponsoring the Hoops postgame show. It's not quite postgame because we're going to OT again after a nice defensive effort by the Huskers there. They force an 18-foot fadeaway for the final shot by Maryland. That right there is good D. That's how you do it, as opposed to against Wisconsin when you had Chucky Hepburn take what I thought was a really poor shot.
That was a bad shot.
And that was more,
but the
like,
defense
how do you
was
not
good there
run
too.
a better play?
Yeah, a one-on-one step back three is not what you'd want. You definitely want to get downhill, maybe make somebody create a double team opportunity, kick it out, and then either find a good one or get to the basket.
This is
maybe get
both
fouled.
of you guys. This is Hoiberg's best coaching job, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, he's had literally 3 different teams this year.
Well, yes. I'm going to throw out, you say best coaching job here, yeah, but compare it to when he was at Iowa State. He had some talent. They had teams that got on a roll. They didn't face the adversity this team has faced.
Agree.
This may be his best coaching job in his college coaching career.
This is the best thing that happened to Fred Hoiberg, I believe. One, the pressure of what you're going to have to do in order to retain your job. 2, you had all of the different lineup changes, adjustments, things you have to make. And then 3, you're now in the midst of it, getting your younger players more experience. So I think it works all the way around.
I'm going to make an argument to both of you guys, and you guys, again, tell me whether I'm crazy or not. I think do or die years rarely work. And we can agree next year is a big year for Fred Hoiberg.
Yeah.
I think he's coming back. You think he's coming back?
Yeah, I think he'll be back.
I thought he was coming back 10 games ago.
I think there's a chance that he could make the NIT, and then this discussion's even sillier. Or maybe they go on a run in the Big Ten tournament. But I just would like to see a commitment to basketball. If it is Hoiberg, commit to him. Because do or die years for any coach, whether it's Danny Nee or Doc Sadler or Barry Collier, they never work. Mm-hmm. When you say to a coach, win or else, it never works.
Well, I think what he's done is the fact that he's changed the culture in such a time. Now you've got to allow him space and time.
Tominaga.
There he is.
From the H. Tominaga from the H.
Shout out to Jay Foreman. Jay Foreman says when the Huskers are tied in overtime or whatever, they're the Hellcat Huskers. It's if they're close, it's one of those things where they'll blow them out.
Well, and on the other end of the floor, on the opening possession of overtime, Sam Hoiberg takes a charge. Can Maryland answer? They cannot. And again,
this is what happens. They get tight.
And we've talked about him after he's now been healthy. Blaze Cada again with another rebound.
When they went on the road to go to Rutgers, I think Fred Hoiberg is saying the only way they're going to win this game is to play loose. And he said, we have nothing to lose. It feels like this team is still playing with, like, there is stuff to lose. I mean, they could lose their coach. Hoiberg, no, that's way off. But it feels like this team really is loose. They're as loose as I've seen them all year long. They're playing like they have nothing to lose.
And the other thing, the change in attitude, go back to any of the first 3 years when things would go wrong and Nebraska's opponent would go on a 6-0 run and 8-0 run, and Nebraska would go 5, 6, 7 minutes without a bucket. I was done because I knew the game was over.
Mhm.
I'm going out in the garage and working on something, or I'm going out in the yard or whatever. And I check in the score on the off chance we would have some kind of a comeback. This team this year, after they got their bearings following the Bandamel injury, they simply just don't go away. They everything is calm and even keel.
I like Walker and Keita on the floor together. I wish they play them. I know it's a matchup thing for a lot of coaches, but it feels like they could play together more often. Of course, that big comeback versus Wisconsin, where they were down 17 in the second half. It was Keita that played really well, the 10 rebounds and just his defensive presence that made a difference. But in that game, they played Walker and Blaze Keita together. I wish they would do that more often.
Yeah, but the issue with it is it shrinks. They run a pretty open style of offense, a lot of cutting back doors.
Yeah.
It just closes
Blaze
down.
struggles with that a little bit.
Yeah, it closes down.
Well, he's not a guy that's going to be able to cut.
Right. And I understand why they don't do it. I just like the fact that it increases your rebounding opportunities by 10. It seems like. What'd they call there, you guys? Was that on Hoiberg?
They called it on Hoiberg.
I have no clue, which is that
looked like a good block by Sam Hoiberg that they called a foul on.
Well, and for the Huskers today, I don't know that they've updated the stats here from the last possession, but Nebraska's got 11 turnovers on the day. 6 of them are by Derek Walker, including the last one.
He is their point guard.
Yeah, but like
but you'd like to have your point guard not turn it over like that.
He gets the ball in the corner with 7 seconds to go, and he tries to drive the baseline and steps out of bounds. That's a play you can't make as a guy that's in your 47th year of college basketball.
Yeah, that's tough. You got to try to make a move to the middle and create opportunities for more people. You that's death zone down there, making a drive that deep.
Where would you rank this win for this team if they were able to pull it off? Maryland right now up 1 point with 2 minutes left.
It could be their third best win for me.
Iowa and
forced
Creighton.
Yeah,
right behind Iowa and Creighton.
See, I put the Rutgers win above this one if they were to come back here and win this.
That's a big one. Maryland gets the dunk, and they lead now. With 2:29 left to go, 64-61.
Yeah, but again, the poise of this team, and they just go attack the basket. And I'll tell you what, Derek Walker, for all of his free throw misery this season, he's 7 of 9 from the line today.
Yeah, he's hit 4 in a row.
Look, I'm not going to take credit, but I just had the alumni were there, and I just had a little short conversation with him about the fact that make it one motion. What he's doing is he would get to 2 motions, he would set it, and then set and hold.
Well, if that's what you taught him, because that release looked perfect.
Just one motion. He's got a good stroke. It's just a matter of them just getting it and just staying with the same. Griesel was doing the same thing. They're both were doing 2 motion shots. That's where they were struggling a little bit.
Oh, boy,
he's
hit 6 in a row since Strickland's
9 of 11
recipe.
Yeah, 9 of 11 from the line today for Derek Walker.
Wow. So if Nebraska wins today, you can thank the Hall of Famer Eric Strickland
just
for
small
the free throw tip.
Just small conversation.
You take everything you could get. It's like a guy that's struggling with his golf swing or the 3-foot putt. What are you thinking about? Free throw shooting's a little bit like that. In fact, Mike and I had that conversation. It's a lot like putting sometimes, free throws. It just gets in your head. It's between the ears.
It gets between the ears. And that's what CJ was struggling with on his jumper too. The same thing. He was getting a lot going in and out. They look good, and then
and he doesn't have a 3 today, but he's looked good today.
Yeah.
He's been valuable off the bench. They did call a charge, right?
Yes, they did.
So Nebraska gets the ball back, down 1 with 2:05 left to go.
Husker baseball in San Diego. Michael Garza gives up an RBI single in the bottom of the ninth, and Nebraska falls to 0-3, 10-9. San Diego wins. They come back from down 8-2.
They got to find a closer. They got to find somebody late in ball games to shut teams down because the first 2 nights, if you have, as we mentioned, a Schwellenbach type coach, top guy coming out of the bullpen, you win one of those 2 games for sure. And Nebraska up 8-2. That just kills you. You think you were up 8-2 and you lost that game.
The other thing that kills you if you're on a basketball court is 3 possessions in overtime that are just kind of selfish, forced one-on-one plays that they had so many more options, but is what it is.
Nebraska gets the rebound. CJ gets the rebound. Nebraska's only down 1.
You got to get Griesel in here right now.
Now he has taken it to
That's
the hole.
what you got.
Scores
you got
and 1. Sam Griesel lifts the Huskers on top 65-64, 124 left to go.
Strick, I want to ask you a question about Denham Dawson. He's been out of the lineup for 2 games. Is it just the matchups don't really favor him, and he hasn't been playing his best as of late? Is he trying to force it, or is it an injury?
I mean, you don't really need that type of D right now. You need more offensive prowess, and the D's been good. So it's not that matchup wise they're in a deficient state.
Yeah.
So the teams that they're playing, it bodes well for them.
You said you like this version of Nebraska basketball, maybe even better than the uninjured version of Nebraska basketball. So we thought Hoiberg had changed, right? He's going to, and this is a hard edge game for sure.
Walked.
But
we stole the ball.
Do you go,
and guess who did it?
Sam Hoiberg.
Sam Hoiberg.
Do you go with what Hoiberg did before with Gary and Bandamel, or you go with this version of Nebraska? As far as recruiting
you
is
want
concerned?
Gary. You want Gary.
Yeah, for sure. Gary back, and Bandamel couldn't come back anyway.
No.
But I'm just wondering, what do they recruit to going forward? The long guys who are more defenders, like a Gary or Denham Dawson, or do you how many to balance the shooting and the defense? It's going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Well, you keep going. If you want to play size and have across the board size, then you work with that. If not, then you figure out another way.
Here comes a big move by Derek Walker.
And the thing with the way that they're running this offense now, it's all about cutters, and that's one he's got to make.
You got to make that one. You're right. You're point blank. You got to make that one.
That's a tough shot to make, but
you're going to get another shot
37
at it.
seconds.
You got to get a stop. Got to get a rebound. Yeah. You got to secure it, and you got to make free throws. This is the part of the game that I've been talking about. To win these type of games, you got to hit free throws. You got to be able to secure rebounds. You got to play great defense, and that's how you win them.
I mean, you mentioned that you talk a lot to the players, obviously, on this when they're on your radio show or when you're at practice, which is a lot. How willing is Fred Hoiberg for you to talk to the guys?
No, I mean,
and obviously he trusts you.
Yeah, he doesn't have any issue, and I don't go in there usurping the.
I know that
usurping the methods of the team. But I talk to the coaching staff too, so I'm just kind of giving them some things that I see. Like for example, talk to Adam Howard, and I talk. To Coach Lesnar as well. One of the things that they did early is you had a double team where you had, I want to say it was Hoiberg and Tamanaga. They had a post double. The postman is not making any effort at all offensively. He's looking to pass. Tamanaga's got to leave, and he doesn't. He stays too long, and they end up with a corner three because that's you want your stretch. There's no threat. You got to go. You can't stay in a double team that's no threat to you. So those are some of the things that I just kind of mentioned to them. And I mean, they're aware of it. You just got to do it.
37 seconds left to go. Maryland, now it's just stolen. Hoiberg steals it and makes the layup. Nebraska, I'm telling you, Sam Hoiberg.
Hey, Sam Hoiberg can play.
He can play basketball. And I've been saying, this guy's a freshman. I know he's a redshirt freshman. He can play in this league.
Yes.
And Nebraska has been a better basketball team with him
ball.
on the floor.
Yes.
Jump ball. Who's it go to? Where's the arrow point?
Huskers.
Nebraska has the
arrows
ball
go
with
up.
21 seconds left, and it's going to go to Tamanaga. So you get the ball into Tamanaga or Hoiberg, right, and make them foul him. But what a play by Sam Hoiberg.
And again, this is what we were talking, or I was talking about in the last hour, Tom. Hoiberg understands the game so well and anticipates, and he gets the angle. What angle do I need to take to get to the spot that I need to make a play? And he gets there as fast
He just
and
knows how to
efficiently as
play
he can.
basketball, and now he's going to get fouled and shoot free throws. And how valuable is it to know that you got a guy, you're in the double
How do you
bonus.
not like this freaking team, bro?
I love this team. I mean, Hoiberg was telling us early in the season he loves this team, and fans were starting to say, I love this team. And I was saying, I really like this team, and I did. But now this team is a different version from that team, and I love this team.
Absolutely.
This is the Hoops postgame show that's not quite in the postgame yet, as Sam Hoiberg knocks down a free throw with 19.2 seconds left in overtime. Nebraska 68, Maryland 64.
This is the type of win they need.
Yeah.
This is the type of a grinded out millstone type of win. You have the comeback win. You have to go on the road and win in a tough environment.
When no one expects you to.
Right. And then you come home, have adversity, don't shoot well, and yet you still are able to come up with a win. That's a whole facet of learning. That's a great learning curve that you can't. That's invaluable.
And you've got a chance, so you're saying there's a chance, Lloyd Christmas, to make some sort of postseason.
You do.
You win this game. Nebraska's got some impressive wins on the resume.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, and
I think if they get one in the Big Ten, they solidify it.
And the Wisconsin game actually turned into a quad 2 win because they just moved into the top 74 of the NET rankings.
Yeah.
They're 74th.
Yeah.
And this isn't over. Obviously, this game's not over.
No.
Nebraska leads
by
68-64. Hoiberg makes the first after a steal to make a layup. He gets fouled and makes the first free throw, so he'll be at the line for another one.
You know, and that's a play. And we were talking about I always forget his name. Moore. Or Young. We were talking about Young a moment ago and how good he is. But that play right there, if I'm his coach, I'm really frustrated with him because he didn't go get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Hoiberg went and got the ball. And he can sit there and say, well, I should have got a foul. No, you shouldn't have got a foul call. You made no effort. You waited for the ball to get to you.
I mentioned this
That's
to
the
you in
difference
the first half. Kevin Willard said something to his guys in one of the huddles. He said, I know he looks small, and I know you think you could take him. But he basically was trying to convince his players, Hoiberg can play. I know he looks like one of those guys that can't play, but he can play. Don't underestimate him. His coach was trying to get them to estimate him because he just made another free throw. Nebraska's up 5 with 19 seconds left to go.
The confidence that he shoots everything, not just free throws, but like he just walked up like it was nothing and knocked that down.
And I'd get it back to him. If you can find him again, have him shoot.
Gosh, not him. I'm sorry.
Jamarcus Lawrence he's not struggled, very good. But the coaching moment. I mean, if
you don't run down there, Jamarcus, until like the last moment, you're not that guy.
I would have Kay say you want shooting free throws.
And then Sam, and then Greasel,
then
and then work yourself down.
Walker the way you shoot free throws
today. Derek Walker,
he made it. He made it, and that can help your confidence.
That
can really help your confidence. That you're not, because he is a good shooter. There's no reason that he's a good shooter. He should be a good free throw shooter, but he has struggled, and he misses the second one. All right.
So Huskers up by 4, 7 seconds to go. Clock running. Maryland drives in, throws the ball kind of away, and a shot with 2 seconds to go. Huskers win in overtime again, and wow,
what a great day! What a great day!
And
there's
easy, Bryce. Huh? I saw Bryce on the air earlier today with DP here in studio. What a young man. And the fun thing about Bryce McGowan's is he's a guy that came in, knew he was only going to play 1 year, has gone off to the NBA. I truly think he is damn proud that he came to Nebraska.
Yeah.
He went through the experience that he went through. I think he learned some humility that maybe he didn't have. He's still got the confidence, and it's showing now.
Yeah.
The way he plays, but like he's proud to say he played here and he's from here, and that says something to me about his character.
Yeah,
the McGowan's brothers are cool guys.
Yeah, they're good guys.
They're good guys.
I got a chance to chop it up with them, and they're glad to be back. Heard they had a really good camp. Came back and showed the young men and women just the wonders
Bryce has
of the
played.
game.
He's going. Obviously, got a 2-way contract. He's playing.
He'll play towards the end too.
Yeah,
they'll open it up. They got a young team. Obviously, they're in the Wembanyama, trying to get in the Wembanyama sweep.
Before we go to break, give us who do you like right now in the NBA? Do you like our Celtics?
Obviously, the West just got stronger.
Yeah.
You got to love the Celtics. But somebody, I love the Celtics. My surprise,
Celtics or Bucks right now?
I think the Bucks probably are the better of it. As long as Tutukumbo stays healthy. Now, my sleeper is Cleveland.
Yeah. All right.
My sleeper.
Really?
Yeah. Watch out.
Tominaga, is he back at Nebraska next year? You think?
I wish they could get an NIL deal done for him.
That's a bad rule
for him.
That's a bad rule. He's giving up $500,000 a year.
He can go make a nice little chunk of change. Yeah, he may be gone.
Yeah, and I had heard that he was actually offered about $500,000 to play professionally in Japan last year.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, after coming back this year, I think that price tag went up.
Stock went up.
Tell me this real quick before we go to break, and then we can elaborate a little bit more after. Does Casey Tominaga have a game that could get into the G League and potentially make an NBA roster?
I think if he came back and he played the point guard next year,
he's got to play point.
He's got to play the point. Yeah. Whereas over there, it's not necessarily something that would be a matter, but here he would have to play the point. So
you don't have
if he came back,
off guards in the NBA. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, you do. Seth Curry and those type of guys, they can do it, but they get massed a little bit. But he could go to the G. I think he can get drafted and go to the G, probably on a 2-way. They'll give him a shot just because of the fact that he can shoot. But at the end of the end, you're gonna get that Japanese flavor.
Yeah.
There's the people. Some people like putting seats in the tickets or tickets. You know what I'm saying. So I can see him. I can see like a Portland going and making it happen. I can see one of the LAs or I can see somebody out west or Sacramento picking him up. It just
Nebraska's got to do everything that I know you can't pay him, but pay him.
I know there's also some type of legislation that they're trying to find the loophole to where they can get Jazz Shelley and Izzy Bourne and Keisei Tominaga and the young lady that broke the shot put throwing record. She's from Sweden.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's sad. It's sad. I don't think it's fair. Look, there's kids, there's people that come over on work visas all the time. Just create it, make it a work visa.
Yeah. There's got to be a way.
There's got to be a way.
There's got to be a way to figure this thing out because Keisei has been a big part of this winning streak. Another game with 20 plus. He gets 20 today, 7 of 17, a lot of shots, only 2 of 6 from 3. Derek Walker was really, really good. Yeah, the turnovers were a problem, but 7 of 12 from the field, 23 points. So it's Walker, Tominaga, and the Griesel had a nice game with 12 points as well. And then off the bench, Sam Hoiberg. I still say he is an unsung hero on this team. He had the steal that sealed it.
Yeah,
he did, and he hit the free throws.
And actually the block before that, but they called the foul. That's great. And in the last 2 games before that, Mike Melby, it was
blockout.
It was that another defensive stop and another block. And so he's been the guy late that they're trying to challenge, and he stepped up.
I asked Mike last week or 2 weeks ago, how ironic would it be if Sam Hoiberg, the one that saves Fred Hoiberg's job?
Crazy.
That is crazy. You might want to write that check. I mean, bigger donation to the trust fund, at least later down the line.
Let's jump into a break, and then when we come back, I'm gonna give you my guy that I'm gonna say is just as worthy of all the props today as Sam Hoiberg. It's the Hoops postgame show here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars on strategy at tearthepaper.org.
You can spot someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak. This 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
Let's help feed his little sisters.
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner. Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity not to make friends, just eat. Or a retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were important. Hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
To the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mark on 93.7
Broadcasting live from Mars, it sounds like. Having some signal issues. I believe we're trying to get those technical difficulties solved. Tom Stevens here, Eric Strickland there, Mike Melby there. It's the Hoops postgame show as Nebraska beats Maryland today, impressively at home in overtime, 70-66. Derek Walker leads the way with 23 points. You get 20 points from Keisei Tamanaga, and then 9 points off the bench in a hero-type effort from Sam Hoiberg. I don't know if we're on the air or not, but I'll keep talking anyway.
I think we are. It's just we've got this weird interference.
It's almost irritating to have that in your headphones. But this was a great win. I mean, was this the best? I think Creighton's the best win still, right?
Yeah,
but I might
think
put
so.
this ahead of Iowa.
I have to put this ahead of Iowa because of the way that they had to grit it out and finish. Yeah, definitely.
You go to overtime. I mean, it looks like over the last several games that Nebraska was going to melt. Nebraska usually melts in these scenarios late in games. You told us when you first sat down, Strick, you said these are not the type of games Nebraska wins. The slugfest.
Yeah.
They keep grinding it out. Type never give up. He was always preaching that to last year's team and some points to this year's team, but now it's actually you can see it happening. This team just never gives up.
Yeah, they don't. They don't at all. I mean, you saw it in the Wisconsin win when they came back and got that done, and then you see it also. You see it also in this game. I mean, this game could have got away from them, but the areas in which they handle themselves are in the areas that you have to, which is free throws, execution, getting stops, and securing, taking care of the ball. I mean, 10 turnovers is not bad. I mean, that could have been worse. And when you're playing a bad game, you're not shooting well. Those things can hurt you.
Well, and the guy that I thought today came in and contributed, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get because of the injury earlier in the year. Obviously, Sam Hoiberg was awesome, especially down the stretch, and in overtime. He placated.
Oh yeah,
8 rebounds, and Maryland was absolutely owning the offensive glass. They do for the game anyway. They have 15 offensive rebounds to Nebraska's 10 offensive rebounds. But because of Keita coming in and what he did on the defensive glass, he winds up with 7 defensive boards today. Nebraska only loses the rebounding battle by 45-44. To me, that was kind of a turning point because Maryland was just having their way with Derek Walker. They were able to get in, and Derek had good position a lot of times too. But there's a difference. Derek Walker doesn't have 38-inch vertical jump, and he knocks some guys out. But they were getting offensive boards.
You know what's hit me with this team, Fred Hoiberg, is Fred Hoiberg has found the identity that I think he always wanted from the start by going away from his own identity. He started this year with Emmanuel Banamel and Jawan Gary, and then when those two guys, valuable guys, two of the best defenders in the league, quite frankly, get injured, he has to go back to his old system, and it finally clicks. I mean, this is what I thought I would see with Fred Hoiberg in year 1 or 2.
Yeah, and as you said, the recruitment is going to be the next step. But here's what you can sell. You can sell a style now because that's one thing that we've been asking. Let's be honest, Tom. You've been around, Mike. You've been around. We've been asking, what is the identity of this team? So when I can only imagine going out on the recruiting trail and trying to sell what Nebraska basketball is. There's nothing I can.
Rhyme or reason.
It was just come play. But they got something they can sell to somebody. They got something they can build upon. If they can find a way, even if they don't, but if they can find a way to get to a postseason play, you can sell adversity. You can sell hardness. You can sell the facilities and the crowds and the people, and you can sell this university again. You know what I mean?
Well, Mike and I had the argument early in the year. What's the identity? They have an identity. They're the black shirts now. Remember? Trev gave them the black Banamel and Gary, both black shirts. But now that identity has switched again to a more team-sharing, team approach that can knock down threes and beat you with Walker. The identity is both are identities, so we haven't seen it quite a while.
Well, I'll tell you this. I want your opinion. I made mention to some of the guys also on the block that if I'm Nebraska, I am getting every tape over the last 2 years of Drew Timme, and I'm giving it to Brian Bach. And I'm saying become that. Learn how to get low. Learn how to leverage. Learn how to use your body. He plays too narrow and too straight up, and he gets knocked off, bumped off, tripped off because he just has no lower end leverage on it. I would be watching Drew Timme tape, and if he can become that next year for this team, they could be dangerous.
Oh, by the way, if you can't get Drew Timme, go get Hunter Salas, who apparently is unhappy at Gonzaga. So have him come on back home, and he can play in a Nebraska uniform.
Well, former Huskers to watch. I would be watching out for Latrell Ricel Jr., who is having a phenomenal. He's out in Cal State Fullerton. He's having a phenomenal season.
He should have been a D1 player around here in the first place.
Already. It's just he got missed.
Anybody who saw him play in high school knew he was good.
He got missed, and kind of keep your eye on maybe some frustration up in Wisconsin.
Really?
I mean, I don't know.
Chucky's in love,
even though he
Keep
got
your eye.
booed.
Keep your eye. I mean, whether it's Nebraska or not, but keep an eye.
How big of a story would that be?
And if you're a recruit and you see, and Nebraska's saying, hey, well, and what about Frederickson? With
part of Virginia?
No, the Notre Dame recruit.
Oh, yeah.
Parker Frederickson.
Yeah.
He's decommitted.
Yeah.
Now is he going to follow
He's turned down Nebraska twice, though.
I'm just saying, is he going to follow Bray? But if you're a recruit, Nebraska's talking to you right now, and you're seriously considering them, would you be even more interested in watching what
they're doing
this year?
It's the style of play. This style of play is fun to watch.
Yeah, this is what I thought I was getting. You spread the floor, you get shooters in it, and then they get a big man that can make. That's the big thing that I worry about next year is, if Tamanaga leaves, you can probably find a shooter. It's going to be tough to find a shooter like Tamanaga. But I'm very doubtful that you can find somebody like that what duplicates what Derek Walker has done this year.
Yeah, and there you've got to. Well, for me, I wouldn't even feel you needed necessarily a Derek Walker type. I would love to have a Dennis Rodman type, one of those guys that just is mean, ugly, just rebounds and is going to get you 12, 15 a night.
Isn't that Joanne Gary a little bit?
Well, he has that capability, and I love his slashing ability. But I want a big with that kind of nastiness. Like if he's in the paint, if you guys remember back in the UNLV days when there was a guy named George Apples who used to, when he would bang, you knew it in the whole arena. Yeah, that type of guy. Some guy that's just mean. Yeah.
Teddy Allen maybe a little more under control.
Yeah, under control.
A little more. But Nebraska gets a big win today, 70-66. They're now 14-14. And if I said to you a week ago, even, this team's going to make the NCAA tournament. They're not. They're not going to make the tournament. But if even if I would have sniffed about the NIT, you would have said you're crazy. Now it doesn't sound so crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't. And you're moving up the leaderboard. I always said if you can get outside that first playing game, anything can happen. I'll tell you this: that if they can get healthier, there's not a team that I think would want to see them in the first round.
Don't want to see Nebraska right now. This is the Hoops post-game show. Is brought to you by Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits, 3,000 plus wines, 2,000 plus spirits, 1,500 plus beers and seltzers. They are located just north of 27th and Superior, and also a big thanks to Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, helping home and business owners in and around Lincoln for half a century. Action offers a full range of heating and cooling services as well as plumbing repairs, maintenance, and remodeling. And off the Starter Heyman text line, yes, we do know we have this weird interference coming over. I'm texting everybody I can, trying to figure out if there's something we can do.
We know engineers. We're not engineers.
Yeah, evidently. No engineering degree amongst us, but we can start throwing things, I guess. That might help. At any rate, yeah, we hear it as well. We know it's going over the stream. We're trying to figure out what it is and get it fixed and replaced. But also off bottom line from Brian off the Starter Ham text line. He says, bottom line, heart and soul, boys. That's what today was all about, heart and soul.
That was fun. This has been a fun team, and you've told me that you've been in love with this team all season long. I've been in like with this team for much of the season. It was ugly, but they were winning ugly and kind of embraced that black shirt mentality. And they were always fun to watch. This team's really, really fun to watch. And I've said it before. Keisei Tamanaga is the most fun player to watch in this whole league.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his style. I like what he's doing. I like what he's like. Even he could have quit in this game. Like the start that he got off to, but he still ends up with 20.
Yeah.
But this is the one thing that I said, and I said this weeks ago. I said Keisei Tamanaga, Walker, and Griesel. Those shooting chart numbers. That's what it has to look like for this team to have success. And then you throw in, you sprinkle in a Jamarcus Lawrence, you sprinkle in a Wiltshire, you sprinkle in a Hoiberg, and get a nice little turnout from them. You've got a winning recipe.
We said he's kind of a poor man Steph Curry, a very poor man Steph Curry. Anybody that comes to mind that had a game like Casey that could get off those floaters and make layups, and it looks like he shouldn't be able to hit even the shot.
Professionally or in college?
It didn't matter. I don't know. Probably professionally, but
like Chris Mullin. He's a lefty. Chris Mullin looked like you had like he was not going to be able to get there. Next thing you know, he's hitting you with eyeballs.
You were lefty.
Yeah, but I could get there.
Okay, so downtown Scott up the Sergeant Heyman text line says, Stricky, what happened? 5 chances.
Listen, half court shots are some of the hardest shots, especially if you don't get warm up and really get some shots at it to kind of figure out the way that you want to shoot it. You're going in there blind, and 5 shots. Listen, I was close on maybe one of them. It's hard. That's hard. I wish I could have, shot a jump shot, but that's too deep.
Best shooting performance maybe that I've ever seen. Eric Strickland versus Missouri.
Oh yeah.
Was that your best college shooting game?
Probably.
What'd you end up with?
28.
And a
freshman
played what? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't 20.
Yeah.
It was probably barely 20. Maybe it's over 20.
And so way back in the day when I had season tickets and you were playing, I think it was in 98, I had an opportunity to do the half court shot. Drew my name out of the hat or whatever, however I got out there.
That can't be 98. 96?
Oh, true.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been, because it was your senior year.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I did it. And airball by about 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, if I ever get another chance. Now, at the time, I worked for a local company that the patriarch of the family played for the Huskers back in the 50s. And somehow, some way, I got another chance the next year. And I actually made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I got out of it? A 10-speed bike.
Oh, do you still have it?
I was like, really? That's what can I get
listen.
$50 or something?
No slight to Chicago, but my confidence dropped when they said trip to Chicago. That's not one of the places. Like if they would have said Bahamas, my effort maybe it went up a whole nother, like the Bahamas or something. But yeah, I didn't want to go to the Windy City. So
you're going to Pensacola Beach. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might have been a different touch on that thing.
You guys mentioned Nebraska moving up the leaderboard. Strick mentioned that they're 7-10 now in the league, 14-14 overall, tied with Penn State and Wisconsin, just one game behind Michigan State.
And they got to play them.
And they play them next in Minnesota. I mean, if you get Michigan State somehow, you got to get Minnesota.
Got to get that one, and then go on the road.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance, as I say. But I really do believe this team has a chance to make the postseason, which would be one of the best Nebraska basketball stories ever. Obviously, Nebraska basketball doesn't have a lot to talk about. Your days have been a while.
Yeah.
The knee era has been a long time, but this would be fun. I'm not saying a no-sit Sunday is coming, but
it kind of was today.
Yeah. Well,
there was a good crowd today.
I mean, that was close to packed.
Yeah, it was a good crowd.
As many as you can get in the building.
So let's talk a little more, since it is the post-game show. The Hall of Famer Eric Strickland is there. Mike Melby is there. I'm Tom Stevens, back with more.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting home started, the home is done in January or February.
Bob Benton, Spin Builders, and they built neighborhoods in and around Lincoln for over 25 years.
I think time designing your new home is month February. Get an early start on it. sit down, smoke wine, let's sit down on the table, let's drop some plans, let's put numbers together, let's get a budget put together, and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get it up and to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
I'm Brian at 58. Doctor told me I had a heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now and never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Nebraska Broadcasters Association of this station.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from high school and do it.
10 years later, age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and then my second-year-old daughter. She's been more than that I could ask for. But I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
A hero's work is never done. He cares for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit hretirement.org/shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
More of this Sunday Rewind is coming your way next.
60% of the time, it works every time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Hoops Postgame Show. I'm Mike Melby, Hall of Famer, 9-year NBA veteran Eric Strickland sitting over there. Tom Stevens to my left. It is the Hoops Postgame Show brought to you by Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. And we know we have got a mess as far as the sound of the show goes.
I think it's the best we've ever sounded.
You and I sound really good right now, but this is not good with Strick. We've got our engineers working on it. We're not sure what the heck is going on. Aliens are taking over or something. But Nebraska with the big win today in overtime over Maryland, 70-66. Down the stretch, Sam Hoiberg with the steal to kind of seal the whole thing late in overtime. And then Blaise Cada comes up with 8 big rebounds. Derek Walker, 23 points today, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Did have 5 turnovers. He also had 3 blocks today, too. And then K-State Tominaga. He had a bad day shooting today. He was only 2 of 6 from 3 and 7 of 17 overall. And only 20 points. But when you look at
you got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of it.
He's 5 of 11 from inside the arc. He was shooting in his prior 5 games 70.8% from inside the arc. So for him to be under 50%, I mean, it's astounding. So they played horrible. Not really. But they still found a way to win the game. Off the Sutter Haven text line earlier, heart and soul. That's what it's all about. And this team just simply has no give up in them. They got down 7 at one point. 8 minutes, 6 minutes to go.
7-5, back and forth, yeah.
And just figured out a way. And then fantastic defense there on that last possession in regulation. Fadeaway 18-footer. I'll take that any day for the opponent's final shot. Strick, I know you've been in hairy situations with games that have such ebb and flow to them. How tough is it if you're not hitting your shots to continue to play on the defensive end? How tough is it to maintain and keep that composure? You always hear coaches talk, not too high, not too low. No peaks, no valleys, just middle of the road. Today was one of those days.
Defensive is your identity. That's the thing that you always do. I think the more frustrating part of defense is not securing the ball. As far as rebounds, like that's the most frustrating. Having bad shooting nights are going to happen. When you do, you have to give yourself a chance by your identity, if that's your identity. Just around my time, the identity was physicality, was defense, was running. So those are
your football buddy. Or you, your best man. Your worst man. You, your dog.
You would take it? You would.
Your
Well, straight yard crash.
While 1 in 3
But I
adults
wanna
have
see it.
prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes? That's 33.3333%
I
of
had
adults.
pre-diabetes.
That means
con él. Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org, diagonal nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
Why can't we tell if you're while riding the highway? Son, there ain't no one late but Jethro. He was riding over the stallion, whipping away at his telegraph. Ran right into the side of the snow. Well, if Jethro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike.
That's old school.
Yeah?
No school like the old school.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hoops postgame show. Nebraska with a big win today at home versus Maryland, a team that really needed a win to stay hot following that win over Purdue. But Nebraska wins in overtime 70-66. And now, for the first time in a long time, if I would have told you they're at this point in the season 14-14, and you got Minnesota coming up next Saturday, you're saying, okay, they have a chance maybe to beat that 500 mark.
Yeah, they do. And Minnesota is not very good, but they can get hot. So you gotta stay active defensive. You can't get slipping, and they'll hit you on the boards.
Nebraska's not good enough to overlook anybody. That's for sure.
They have to play a solid game. Yeah.
But this is fun to watch. As we mentioned, sometimes you get Walker, sometimes you get Tamanaga. Rarely, that's been a big problem with Nebraska basketball, for several years. You rarely get two guys, that have 20 plus, and then you get Walker playing off Tamanaga, his cutting ability now. Fun player to watch. I mentioned one of the funnest players, I think, to watch in the entire league. But this was just a gritty game, a game that, as Strick said when he came in, that Nebraska just doesn't win very often. It was a close game. It felt like maybe if you can get to overtime. You said it right when they made the run and got it to overtime. You said, now I feel good.
I feel good.
But you didn't feel good before that.
No, because, like I say, Jay Foreman and I have had conversations about this team. and he created the name the Hellcat Huskers. It's like he said, if we're even, this is his exact quote. He said, with this team, when they get to overtime, if they're even, they're leaving. Yeah. That's how it is in the Hellcat. If they're even with you, they're leaving you. And that's how they play. It's kind of like they have poise for some reason. They kind of know where they need to go and who they're going to. And then they defend their butts off, and the other team seems to somehow get tight because you can see some of the jumpers that they were taking. They weren't taking them same type of jumpers. It looked like they was guiding them or just Whereas the Huskers, they do it on the defensive end, and they know where they're going. They're going to get downhill, and they made free throws tonight. That's how they win it.
Derek Walker, by the way, after your little lesson with him, made I think
9 out of 11.
9 out of 11, but like 7 or 8 in a row.
Yeah. And again, like all I said to D-Walk, I said, D-Walk, man, listen, you shoot the ball good enough. Like your stroke is fine. It's just that the little 2 pumps to it makes it flat. It creates flatness, which then allows the ball to be long or inconsistent. If you one motion, regardless of where it is, you'll be more consistent. He did, man. He did that on his own. That's him. It's just little things that, sometimes I see that if I can, just, hey, tell a guy I didn't, it wasn't like I was on the court with them in practice or nothing. Just kind of when we're leaving the court on the side, say, man, just one motion, my guy, you got it. And he did. And look, that'll bode well for this team down the stretch. But if him and Grease will make free throws, they've got a chance to win a lot of games because Sam Hoiberg shoots it well and Tamanaga shoots it well. And CJ's pretty good too.
Hoiberg, you just knew he was going to make those free throws at the end. And of course, his dad's name is Fred Hoiberg. He's just Hoiberg, so he can shoot free throws, among other things. I thought he made the play of the game with the steal at half court to make it a 4-point game. Then he gets the ball again and he knocks down 2 free throws. Nebraska didn't do anything spectacular today. They shot 41% from the field. They were 3 of 16 from 3. That's 18%. They did shoot free throws. They were really good at the free throw line, 19 of 25. And Maryland, that's something they usually do better than they did today, 13 of 19, 68%. So Nebraska shot 76% from the free throw line in a rough and tumble game. If you would have just shown me those numbers, I would have said Nebraska lost. If I didn't also see Maryland's numbers, because
that's why defense wins games.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it'll at least keep you in it.
Yeah.
If you can stay in a game, you've got a chance.
Yep.
So I'm going to throw out standings here. Minnesota, bottom of the league, 1-13. That is a must-win for Nebraska next Saturday, regardless. Ohio State, 3-13, is locked up that 13th seed. As it sits right now, Nebraska is in the 12th spot at 7-10. They're a half game behind both Wisconsin and Penn State that are both 7-9. Michigan State and Illinois are 8-7. So let's just stop with those right there. Let's say if Nebraska holds serve at home, they don't win at Iowa, they get 9 wins. So those are the teams that are in front of them that they can pass, providing obviously they would have to lose the rest of their games.
And a couple of teams, go ahead.
What? Just to finish the thought, Minnesota is a must win. But that game against Michigan State at home, senior day, that might be to get them out of that Wednesday.
That play.
Are you calling no sit against Michigan State?
Yeah. Let's do it again. Pack the house. No one's
Tuesday night, probably.
I don't care.
Tuesday night. A no sit Tuesday? I want a beer. I don't really want to stand with my beer.
I will stand with my beer. Get me in the building.
That's a big game. A lot of seniors. It's going to be good for them. But also at the end of the day, that game for them, there's some tough schedules that other guys ahead of them have to still finish.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, Tom, or you guys, that there's a couple of those teams just ahead of them have it tough down the stretch with 4 left. They have at least, I think, 3 that are really tough games, a couple of them on the road. Most of them only have 2 at home and 3 on the road, going into the day.
Penn State is at Ohio State on the 23rd. Host Rutgers on the 26th, at Northwestern on March 1st, and then they close at home against Maryland. That is not an easy schedule.
Yeah.
Other games in the Big Ten today. Iowa falls to Northwestern, 55-42. Nebraska, of course, with the win in overtime over Maryland. Purdue gets back on track after the loss to Maryland with an 82-55 win over Ohio State. Ohio State might have a decision to make at head coach at the end of this year.
Interesting.
I just wonder.
Not a fan of Chris Holtman.
I am a fan of Chris Holtman, but Ohio State fans in any sport tend to think like Nebraska fans do in football. They demand excellence. They always think they should be the best team in the league, whether or not they should be. I just know he's paid a lot of money. Chris Holtman, the expectations are really high, and they're having a tough year.
Yeah,
they're having a tough year.
And to your point, the other team that's right in front of Nebraska, Wisconsin, they've got a makeup game with Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
That's no cakewalk.
Nope.
They've got Iowa at home. They're at Michigan.
Yep.
Purdue, and then their gimme. They have to close the season.
That's
Minnesota.
what I was saying.
So the 2 teams in front of Nebraska have got one hell of a schedule.
Yeah.
Starting lineup for next year. I know I do this all the time because I get giddy after big wins. So bear with me. Knowing that Derek Walker is gone, Sam Griesel is gone. Who's your starting 5? I mean, and if you could say player to be named later, how many of these guys on the current team are starters next year? And how many are I mean, Tamanaga is obviously one of those guys that you say, well, he's a starter if he's back, but he may not be back. You might be able to lump him in with Bandamel, Greasel, and Walker, saying he's gone because Nebraska can't pay him.
You got to go Gary. You're definitely going to go probably. You got to wait and see at the point guard spot, because somebody that we're not talking about that had an injury that they said was playing quite well, which is Q McPherson. So we just got to see what's going on with Q.
He's a pass first guy, though, right?
You still just want, I mean,
I don't have a problem with that. I just want to know what his game is, because
he's more of that. He can get downhill and he'll
he can
probe
defend
all of that. So he fits the culture. You got to look at Gary. You definitely got to look at maybe either Jamarcus or Wilcher. You're probably going to go
Ramel Lloyd.
See, but Ramel is more of a point too. So I could see him probably coming off the bench, giving you a lot of minutes there.
I got some question marks.
The center, I don't know yet.
I think two starters opening day next year aren't currently on this team.
Yeah, I think so. And you wonder about, I think Blaise Kata can come back next year. I wonder if he decides that way. There's a few decisions on this.
He'd be going overseas if he doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's headed overseas.
The development of Oleg, I wonder about him. Where do you see his development going? I mean, if you see it in every day in practice and you say, okay, he's progressing at the rate that we want it, then obviously
there's just still no toughness. There's no outside of Kata. There's no real. He's got quiet toughness. Outside of them, I don't really know where the toughness is now. Oleg maybe has potential, but I'd like to see more.
My point is there's a lot of question marks, especially if Casey doesn't come back. You're talking about Gary for me, and then who else? I mean, I just don't know.
And Eli Rice is one of, if not the best player on IMG Academy, a school that's going to send 11 guys to play Power 5 conference basketball next year.
Yeah.
Take a call.
He's a guy that he's a guy that I think could work his way into first guy off the bench.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Honda of Lincoln hotline, 464-5685, Sutter Heyman text line. We welcome that as well. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Who's this? Who's this?
Yeah, hi. This is Bruce from Morgan.
Hey, Bruce. Yeah, how you doing, Bruce?
Hey, guys. This team, to me, since we've lost guys, they've fought. And, I said about a month ago when we were losing, this team was still fighting even though we were losing. That's one thing that Nebraska, I've noticed, this year, they have fought and fought and fought. I don't care if it was a loss, a blowout, they would fight. And now these guys are fighting. They're playing defense like it's no tomorrow. Maryland, had some trouble today. I was happy with Walker's play. I just wish that we would take the ball and drive it more. Greasel, I would love to see him do some more. He slows down and then stops. But again, I just want to say that I love this team. I'm Big Red for life. But I'm so happy that we're winning. I'm glad that this team is fighting. And we're fighting now and we're winning. So thanks, guys. Have a wonderful Sunday night.
Thanks for the call, Bruce. Bruce always chiming in on the Hoops postgame show. And he's right. I mean, bottom line, man, there is no give up. I mentioned it earlier. When we're down, we're up 6 and there's a 12-0 run and we're down 6. I'm just kind of like, whatever. It's no big deal. This team, and it's no big deal. This team just simply goes down, gets a stop.
Yeah.
Tominaga hits a 3.
And
Lawrence hits a 3.
Yeah.
Walker gets an and one.
They're tough. I think it's what you're saying is they're tough-minded. They're mentally tough and maybe tougher than the team that started the season. But this is a team that I know they didn't shoot it at a really high clip today, but they do scare you. And I think it opens up a lot of things. You've guarded those guys before the NBA. They create space just by being on the floor. And you have to go out 30 feet to guard them.
Mm-hmm.
Tamanaga is that. Wilcher became that a little bit against Rutgers, didn't get a chance. But you get a little bit of that on your team. Boy, it really opens up the floor.
It does. And that's why I say it makes it difficult especially right now, if you're not getting any spacing or range from Breidenbach, then playing them only in the need of deficit when you have a deficit in rebounding, when you play Walker and them together, I think you get great defense. I think you have a combination as well of Keita's challenge because with him, he causes a lot of hesitation in the mind of a guard because you don't know he's big enough. You don't know if he's going to challenge your shot, block your shot, or take a charge on you. So when you're driving and you're seeing it, there's guys that for example, Hunter Dickinson or Zach Edey, they're coming to get that thing. They ain't trying to take no charge. So you better shoot a floater or a mid-range. That's the kind of mentality when you turn the corner with them. But with Blaze or somebody down there, you don't know if they're going to step in and take a charge. You don't know if they're going to challenge your shot. And that makes it difficult to finish shots sometimes. It really does.
And Blaze is one of the best guys on the team at taking charges, which you wouldn't think for a guy who is 6'10", 6'11", that's a shot blocker. I mean, he's not a 6'10" guy that has a 12-inch vertical jump either. Yeah. I mean, he's going to block some shots, but his ability to play defense and play smart and stay grounded and take those charges,
we just hope he's all right.
Unique. Yeah,
we hope he's all right because
he tweaked that
you
ankle
need
again.
him. Yeah, something he tweaked. You're going to need him down the stretch because right now you're just not getting anything out of Breidenbach. You're not getting anything substantive out of him, but maybe some fouls. And
it looks like he's got, the shot looks good when he lines it up, and it doesn't go in.
No, he just doesn't use any part of his lower body on anything he does. I just know that over time, if you're a guy like even Dirk, who played he has a little bit of bend, but not a whole bunch, but he had some, and even on his jumper, he had some little squat to him, you know, and just Breidenbach straight on everything. So on his drives, great shot fake, but his shot fake takes a little extra longer because in order to drive, it's all the low man always wins. It's the same thing in football. You take a shot fake. If you have to squat, then go, you've lost a second.
Yeah. And you've told me this before on the postgame show and in other places that he's sometimes too easy to get off balance.
Yes.
Like you can bump him. And he just tends to lose his center of gravity. And I don't know if you can overcome that without, maybe another year in the waiver room.
Need some work. Yeah, you need somebody to get with him in the offseason and really, like I'm telling you, if I had a good summer with him, he'd be right.
Yeah. Nebraska basketball though wins today, and they improve to 7-10 in the league, and of course get their 14th win of the season, 14-14 now. And it looks like, hey, I'm already writing down Minnesota's a win. It's just, can you handle? That's crazy how we think. Nebraska is now won 4 of 5, and we think, well, they're going to beat Minnesota because Minnesota's the worst team in the league. So that's 5 of 6. Now they're over 500.
If you gave me some time, I just thought about this. If you gave me some time with Breidenbach, I wouldn't even put pads on him. I'd guard him. And I would listen, I love him. I think he's got tremendous potential, but I would try to embarrass him. I'd be like, I'm 6'3", you can't move me, you can't leverage me. I would do it with physicality just to really make him mad. So it would. So I'm not doing it to try to hurt him. I'm doing it to show him that this is what you're gonna have to do. This is going to change your game.
I know he was a top 100 recruit coming out of high school, and he played for one of the best high school teams in the country, and he's got skills. You can see the skills are there, but he's a developmental guy. And it feels like this era of college basketball doesn't cater to that guy as much as it used to. Get in the program. He probably should have redshirted last year. Get bigger, get stronger, learn how to defend in this league, knock down that shot. I like the shots that he takes. He just needs to make them and develop some of the moves, the crafty moves around the basket that I thought he had and maybe he could still get. But we're just in an era of college basketball where the patience, not just from the coaches, sometimes it's the player. Well, I haven't played up to my standard, so I need to change a venue. And I'm not saying that's going to happen because I hope he stays. I love Goggles. Goggles is, he's fun. You need a guy that looks like that on your team, if nothing else. But if he doesn't come back, man, you're talking about some holes to fill anyway for Derek Walker.
Yeah.
And you can't replace a Derek Walker, probably, as you said, with another Derek Walker.
No.
They're just not
They're
available
really out there.
For years in strict the conversations Tom and I have always centered around the center position, and the one guy that we needed the clone of was Derek Chandler.
Like, you had this conversation on your show a couple weeks ago. I texted you about it.
DC,
and you said Mikey was your favorite big man of all time.
Mikey, because Mikey ran like a gazelle. He was part of that running culture. So we knew if we got it out, we could probe, get deep, and we knew Mikey was coming. And just beware, like buyer beware if you're in the paint and you catch Mikey coming down the lane. He's gonna embarrass you.
Yeah, no, and I would
that's
agree.
the difference.
Yeah.
DC was very similar. We had guys that run. Chubbuck was the same. Like we knew when we got out, if we got deep enough, we were gonna have somebody.
That was
coming.
one of my favorite Nebraska teams with Pike, Chubb, you. One of the small. Danny was small.
Yeah.
Chubbuck was the 5 guy.
Chubbuck was our 5.
But he was a great passer.
Tom Best
5.
was the same size, 6'9", 6'10". Bernard Gardner was the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that. That was our. Vincent Hamilton was the same size, 6'9".
Yeah.
We didn't have really those big after Rich King. We didn't really have those big guys anymore. Mikey was probably the tallest.
Yeah.
6'11" and 145 pounds.
Yeah, wet.
Exactly.
And can eat like 3 pizzas and freaking not gain any weight. I used to be mad at Mikey. Couldn't stand Mikey. I'm like, bro, how do you do that? And so I'm 6'3", 205, 210. And I'm like, if I do that, I'm
Who's that guy that was 6'11" that played for Barry Collier, the shooter? That they used to wake up at 3:00 in the morning and make him eat peanut butter sandwiches.
Was it Almeida? Was it Almeida?
It wasn't Almeida.
Brian Diaz?
No. Was it March?
It wasn't
March.
March. It wasn't March.
Big dude.
It was one of the. It was
it
was an NIT team, and he was just a 3-point specialist. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look up some Barry Collier stats.
Oh, you're not talking about Walter Pritchard?
No, not Walter.
No.
Walter, well, that was more recent with Petaway and Pitchford. That was a Tim Miles team. But yeah, I think Nebraska's a big man away. Now all of a sudden, I went from Mr. Negative a couple of weeks ago to, hey, this team could win even next year without Derek Walker and Sam Griesel and maybe Keisei Tabanaga. It seems like a lot to hope for, but that's what wins do for you. A 70-66 win over Maryland today to improve to 14-14 in the league. We got a few minutes left. I think DP coming in at 7:30? We don't know. We never know around here.
I think Ricky and maybe
Ricky Simmons. Ricky Simmons will be in along with DP, I believe, as well. 7:30. So we'll take you up till 7:30 and talk a little more about Nebraska basketball and how good could it be? They're 14-14. Are we talking about a team that could be in the NIT? Sounded like craziness maybe even just a week ago, but maybe not so much now. More Husker Hoops talk on the Husker Hoops postgame show coming up next.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action. Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what
I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
More of the Sunday Rewind is coming your way next.
60% of the time, it works every time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Well, it is our time for Husker Rewind. We do it every Sunday, 5 to 7. It falls in place after a game that Nebraska just won 70-66 in overtime over Maryland today. We thought we would combine hoops and our show. Big win for Nebraska today as they improved to 14-14 of the year. It's funny looking at college basketball right now. Alabama's the number one team in the country.
Right.
I mean, I know they've been good in basketball for the last couple of years, and Nebraska's thankful to get Jawan Gary, but it just seems weird when I look at the top 20 and see Alabama. Houston, number 2. Purdue, who has been number 1 for a long time, at number 3. It just doesn't it feel odd to say Alabama, number 1 college basketball team?
Well, one of the things that I had said, now probably it's going on about close to a year when they still had the COVID situation. I said one of the things that's going to happen with college basketball and with sports, period, is you're going to have parity. And it's going to come by way of.
When did you say that this year? Did you say that this year?
Well, I knew it was going to be extended.
Because
it was going to
start portal or what?
No, that's a part of it, but no, it's because of the addition of the extra years. So what happens is these top programs, these blue blood programs, no one can get to them because there's probably no scholarships. So what it does is it opens up for secondary type programs to be able to land top tier talent, and the one and done method does not work. It just doesn't work in college basketball. So the more veteran your team is, the more apt and the more deeper that you can run. This is why those teams can beat you, because those lower seeded teams beat you because they have veterans leadership. Right. And so then they transfer and they go and create veteran leadership into these secondary programs, and there's parity.
It used to be that you have to have top 50 players to win in college basketball. Now everybody's relying on the portal.
Yeah,
I think both in football and basketball to a certain degree. I've had coaches tell me, I think it really hurts high school recruiting. A lot of these kids that were getting recruited out of high school are now, being passed up in some cases. They have to go to junior or smaller schools or junior colleges.
Parity.
Everybody wants the older guy.
Parity.
A 22-year-old, sometimes top 200 recruit is better than a top 50 recruit as a freshman.
That's how you get Drakes. That's how you get Southern Illinois. That's how you get, certain teams like that.
Yeah.
For that reason. They come alive because they're going to find the diamonds in the rough that have been passed over, and those kids are going to have chips on their shoulders, and they're going to go and ball.
Off the Sutter Heyman text line, Brian Conklin or Brandon Ubell?
Brian Conklin was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
They had to wake up Brian Conklin at 2 o'clock in the morning to eat peanut butter sandwiches because he was 6'11", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
He was a good shooter.
Yeah. Conklin can play.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Brian
FCA
Conklin.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Nebraska wins today. What's the best they could do, guys? Get crazy, get optimistic. What do you think? It's possible they could make the NIT. The NCAA is out of the picture, right? That's crazy.
Well, I don't think it's out of the picture. I mean, a lot of things would have to go right, and they're going to have to go on a run that's totally unexpected. But if they can knock off Michigan State at home, you got to hold serve against Minnesota. Yeah. That's a team that you have to beat. They've only got one win in conference. Don't chalk it up. Just say they have to win that game. If they beat Michigan State,
hold serve at home. That's just call it that. Exactly. I don't care who it is that comes in here. Hold serve. Go ahead.
Yep.
You beat Iowa in a game you dominated.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. Now, granted, they're going to want some payback. You're on the road. Last time I checked on the road, we weren't necessarily a bad team.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out. So could they win the last 3? Go back 2 months prior to injuries. I told you on this show, the last 6 games of this year, after that Michigan game, I think they can win their last 6 and be on a roll going into the postseason.
I think they can win their next 2. They win 2 of 3. You're 16-15 going into the tournament. You win 2 in the tournament.
Hey.
You're 18-16. You're in NIT, and you're a 3 seed.
Yep.
Hey.
Yep, there you go. It's fun to talk about good bad, and we don't demand that much. I mean, we're talking about a team that's 14-14. Just give us watchable basketball, and this has been beyond that. This has been fun basketball to watch. Nebraska now winning 4 of their last 5, with Minnesota coming next Saturday at home. You got to feel good about that.
Oh, you do. It's one of the being a diehard as you are, Tom, as well, and Strick, having the relationship with the program, going to Bellevue West, coming to Nebraska, doing what you did here, and the pride that you have in the program for all those just frustrating years, including the last 3. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
This is one that I lived in the 90s with 90-91, and I'm losing my mind. I still remember watching the Colorado game. We were 14-0 or 13-0 going into the Colorado game. I'm like, Colorado sucks. And they kicked your ass.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was heartbroken. I'm like, how could we, this can't happen. And then we go on that stretch in the 90s, and I'm like, it's all a fluke. We're going to be in the NCAA tournament every year, and it's been just kind of like football, 20 years plus.
Yeah.
Every game, every moment. This is so fun to watch and be a part of.
I'm just glad to be back.
And I still cherish it because I feel sorry for people that didn't get to see the Danny Nee teams of the early 90s because they don't understand. Nebraska was really good. I understand 5 losses in the tournament, and that's where we are. But the talent on the floor and the style of play made it fun to watch. And it hasn't been very much fun since then.
Yeah.
But this is fun. The product is starting to get better. There's a little hope. It feels like there's a little hope, especially after an overtime win.
Yeah, huge win.
Yeah,
huge win.
Nebraska wins it today in overtime over Maryland. Got Minnesota next Saturday. Then we'll be back for our regular show Sunday from 5 until 7.
I'm sure we'll talk a little hoops.
Yep. For the Hall of Famer Eric Strickland on the block. You going to be here tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 2 to 4.
2 to 4. You'll be here next week with me, Mike Melby.
We're going to talk a little bit about the All-Star game. Actually, it was better than I expected to include the dunk contest. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I'll probably have Seth Sabalis on, Corey Blunt. You remember the old Corey Blunt Cincinnati teams with Nick Van Exel. Probably have him on the show sometime, probably maybe Monday or Tuesday. We're going to work that out. So we'll talk about the nows and in the old days and stuff like that.
He's the Hall of Famer, Eric Strickland from On the Block every weekday, and Mike Melby there as well. We'll be back next Sunday at 5 o'clock. See you later.
Nutrition Authority invites you to try Anarchy, which is an exciting new pre-workout for athletes and gym enthusiasts who want the most out of their workouts. Anarchy can only be found in Nutrition Authority. Remember, when you want results, the solution is simple.